They made their case at a made-for-TV hearing. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
Donald Trump was at the center of this conspiracy.
Congressman Benny Thompson chairs the Democrat-led House committee investigating last year's Capitol riot, and their first hearing was prime time. Playing never-before-seen footage of Trump supporters storming the Capitol and getting new testimony.
U.S. Capitol Police Officer Caroline Edwards described being knocked unconscious as a mob rushed past barricades towards the U.S. Capitol.
I felt the bike rack come on top of my head, and I was pushed backwards.
The committee played excerpts of recorded depositions with former Trump administration officials, including former Attorney General Bill Barr, testifying he told former President Trump allegations of a rigged election were false.
That's Fox's Jared Halbert of the Capitol. The only two Republicans on the committee voted to impeach the president later. Most other GOP lawmakers dismissed the probe as political, and the hearing is theater. Congressman Byron Donalds tells Fox.
All they're doing is trying to paint a new political narrative that voters need to think about in November, because the Democrat agenda has failed.
We'll get an update on May's consumer price increase next hour. Inflation's been surging lately. 3 people are dead in a workplace shooting in Smithsburg, Maryland. Police say the gunman also critically injured a 4th co-worker, then fled and got into a shootout with a state trooper. Both of them were wounded. He is now in custody. We're finally hearing from the Uvalde, Texas School District Police Chief, who's under scrutiny for the response to last month's massacre at an elementary school. He claims no officer ever hesitated.
Pete Arredondo told the Texas Tribune he assumed someone else had taken command of law enforcement during the massacre. He said he struggled through dozens of keys to open a door between him and the shooter, but none worked.
That's Fox's Jill Nato. America's listening to Fox News.
Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, and Elizabeth Warren, they're all attacking America's tech innovators. The left's bill, S-2992, would take away the digital tools small businesses rely on, empower China to beat America in the race for new technologies, and increase the risk of cyber attacks. When liberals attack America's tech innovators, they're really attacking everyday Americans and Main Street businesses. American jobs, America's security, and the online privacy of the American people are all on the line. Why would Senate conservatives support this liberal agenda that threatens American innovation? We need to stop Pelosi, Schumer, Warren, and the rest of the D.C. liberals from taking away our technology and making China stronger at America's expense. Call the U.S. Senate today at 202-224-3121. Tell Senate Republicans to oppose S-2992. ProtectingTaxpayers.org, paid for and authorized by Taxpayers Protection Alliance.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. It is 6:03. Robinson saves you time. Right now, we do have partly cloudy skies. It is 63 right now in Columbia, 62 degrees in Jefferson City. We're going to see some rain today, on and off scattered showers and storms. Our high today of 78. We'll have dry time as well. Clear skies tonight with a low near 62 degrees. Good morning. Here's some of the stories that we are working on for you in the 6 o'clock hour. State transportation officials say feedback about the proposed Highway 63 Grindstone Parkway interchange in Columbia is overwhelmingly positive. About 80 people attended Thursday's open house at New Haven Elementary School. They wanted to see a dozen detailed maps on the project. State Department of Transportation Project Manager Zach Osmond says the proposed loop ramp will improve the traffic flow.
If you're coming from the east, in the future, you're going to be able to make a right turn, take this loop ramp that'll take you underneath the overpass. And if you're coming from the other direction, you'll still get to use the existing ramp.
Osmond says MoDOT has the funding for the $9 million project. Construction is expected to begin in early 2024. Now, the time frame has moved up a little bit. They're looking now at awarding that bid in late 2023. Much more, 939theeagle.com. We link to the maps as well on our website. Meantime, funeral services are set for tomorrow afternoon in Columbia for the popular Rockbridge High School homeschool communicator killed at a Tennessee rest stop. Michael Woods' funeral will start tomorrow afternoon at 1:30, the Crossing Church in Columbia. It's on Grindstone Parkway under the direction of Parker Millard. Former colleagues and students are expecting Mr. Woods' legacy, or praising his legacy on the funeral home website. One of his former students is a young man named Jaden Hernandez. Hernandez. He writes in part, quote, "I never got to say goodbye. I never got to say thank you for believing in me, for having my back when I needed someone to talk to," end of quote. And you see things like that over and over on the funeral home website. Woods' son, Michael McElroy, is charged with shooting his father to death at a rest stop near Chattanooga. An arraignment is set here for a few hours from now in Randolph County for a Moberly suspect. She's accused of killing her mom's dog and then setting it on fire.
A Moberly woman faces felony charges after allegedly killing a dog and burning its body. 29-year-old Brianna Lingo is accused of taking the family member's dog and killing it. Investigators say the dog's owner told them Lingo had killed the dog as part of a sacrifice. John Marsh, Zimmer News Network.
All right, John, thank you. That arraignment, 10 o'clock this morning before Judge James Cooksey. That'll be at the Randolph County Circuit Court in Huntsville. Missouri Farm Bureau says a bipartisan eminent domain bill that'll be signed into law tomorrow by Governor Parson prevents private for-profit companies from taking private land for private gain. Governor signs the bill tomorrow. Cattlemen steak fry Sedalia before hundreds of farmers from across the state. Joint Committee on Agriculture Chairman Mike Hafner says the bill says Missouri is open for economic development, but not on the backs of Missouri's farmers and ranchers. And tomorrow is your opportunity to receive a free COVID vaccination at a Comfort Clinic in Columbia. Health Department will host the clinic 10 to 1, the Health Department on West Worley here in Columbia. Extra comfort measures are available for all patients, children, adults as well, including anxiety-reducing activities. They'll also have private rooms for vaccination. This is specifically for people who worry about needles. The clinic is open to all ages. It is free. All COVID vaccines, regardless of its first, second, or another dose, are available as well. 10 to 1 tomorrow. News brought to you this hour by AirServe Heating and Air Conditioning, ensuring the air in which you live and breathe is comfortable and clean. AirServe.com. 93.9, the Eagle News Time is 6:07. In sports, the Rays beat the Cardinals Thursday at Tropicana Field, a game you heard right here on 93.9 The Eagle, 2-1. The Rays sweep the three-game series. St. Louis offensively just could not get it going. They had 2 hits in the entire game. Miles Michaelis outstanding, but he takes the loss, giving up just 3 hits, his 4th loss of the year. Difference in this game was a home run from Choi. That came in the 5th inning. Really, that was not even a bad pitch out over the plate, and Choi able to take it downtown in the game. The Cardinals are back home tonight. They'll host the Reds at Busch Stadium in St. Louis. First pitch, 7:15. 93.9 The Eagle. Royals beat the Orioles last night, 7-5. Couple of home runs for the Royals. Melendez had one, Santana as well. Kansas City now 19-37 on the year. Game 2 of the series is tonight. That'll be at 7:10 this evening. Our sports is brought to you this hour by Service Master Clean of Columbia. You can tell your insurance agent you want the master of disaster with the big yellow van. Adam Kinser, ServiceMasterofColumbia.com. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 6:08. All right, John, thank you. Weather brought to you by ServiceMasterofColumbia.com. Cloudy skies, 63. Traffic check, MidmoHires.com. Local companies are looking for local people at 609 MidmoHires.com. Our roads have been pretty quiet here this morning in mid-Missouri. If you want to report a traffic issue or something else, call us or text us, 874-9390. More team coverage in less than 30 minutes. We have breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle.
Just leave me alone.
Tell them it's going to be a rock and roll weekend.
Slight reaction from Stephanie Bell. If you were watching on the 93.9 The Eagle YouTube channel, one of the highlights of the show this week, we learned another thing. So let's set up all the facts. Stephanie hates ranch dressing, dogs. What else can we add to that list?
Santa Claus.
Birds.
Sandwiches.
And then this moment this week.
Just leave me alone.
Just leave me alone. What were we talking about then?
Pet peeves.
Oh, Hannah made an awesome Wake Up Columbia Facebook post this week. Got a couple of hundred comments. Pet peeves. And Stephanie's pet peeve
Is people asking me the same question twice. Like they think I'm going to change my mind. And I make a lot of decisions, and I don't want to have to make the same decisions over and over. So if I said no or yes the first time, that's my answer.
Are you sticking by that answer? And I think it wasn't just a lot of decisions. It was, you said you make like 4,000 decisions a day?
Something like that.
That was one of the highlights of the week. Welcome into the show. Anybody catch the primetime hearing last night regarding January 6th? It was pretty cool. They opened up. Taylor Swift sang the national anthem, and the crowd got up and cheered, and then they talked for a while and cried, and then the halftime show, Miley Cyrus and J-Lo performed during the halftime show of this thing.
Wow.
It was amazing. They have a TV executive running this thing. I'll tell you, here's the big takeaway. There's really nothing new in there. You know what's new? Oh, well, there's new pictures. There's new video. There's nothing new. There is nothing new. I think one of the highlights, most of what we heard last night, if you did not get a chance to see it and people at work ask you, hey, did you watch any of that stuff last night? You can say, yeah, really the biggest takeaway. We just heard a lot of... that's my takeaway. That's what I saw. People crying. I would direct you to our news partners, ABC 17, on their website, and I think this says a lot. They're asking a question. Did you learn anything from the first January 6th committee hearing? Right now, overwhelming. A majority bigger than the recall effort for Chesa Boudin this week. The piss-poor DA in San Francisco. 70% of folks right now on the ABC 17 poll saying, no, there's just nothing new there.
You know, I did watch part of it, and Branden, I thought there were a couple things that I did think were new, but I certainly respect what you're saying. The two observations. Number one, and I watched it very closely. You're right. It was very well produced. I've never seen that in a congressional hearing. It was almost like you were watching a television program. But Liz Cheney would introduce, Congresswoman Cheney from Wyoming would almost like introduce a soundbite. But I'm unclear on all that new video. Outside of a couple times they would say where it was, maybe the rooftop. Mm-hmm. You couldn't tell. I wasn't sure if those were shot by rioters or whoever was filming it. They never said. But there was one thing interesting to me. This documentary filmmaker that testified and said he was interviewing the Proud Boys and he had never seen them as dark. He used that term, it turned dark that day. He did say something I hadn't heard before. He said that they actually, 250 Proud Boys, marched down Pennsylvania Avenue well before former President Trump was even speaking. I had never heard that before. And then apparently he said we all left to go have tacos, is what he said, and then went back. But that was surprising. That has not been, I've not heard that before.
So there's your perspective. Hauswirth, the news director of numerous radio stations all across mid-Missouri, the one thing new that he learned was that the Proud Boys went and had some tacos.
Well,
but seriously, that's kind of the big takeaway. And I get it. And they're saying, well, we've got new camera footage. We've got new angles. There is still, because it's what they're trying to do. They're trying to show it's Trump's fault. Trump coordinated this thing. He made this thing happen. And it's not happening. I'll tell you one of the more shocking parts I saw. They're playing clips of some of Trump's speech in one of the parts, because we have highlighted this since the day of January the 7th, 2021. We have highlighted some of the things that these national news outlets don't carry. And now it's in a prime time hearing that has a halftime show and it's opening. There was no halftime show. in this thing last night. And Taylor Swift, by the way, you get I was being facetious. She didn't open up the thing with the national anthem, right? People get that. I'm just kidding. So the big thing is what they didn't play, because they're breathless this morning. Oh, my God, did you see? This is new footage. It's new footage that says nothing new. It's different camera angles. It is absolutely nothing new. But they're playing parts of Trump's speech. Couple of things, and I think it's worthwhile going back in time and remembering some of these things. This march to the Capitol, all that stuff, those were all pre-planned events. Got a friend of mine, Mark Cox, hosts a radio show in St. Louis. We spoke about this at a steakhouse in St. Louis shortly after. He showed me the pamphlet that says, here are all the events that are planned for the day. Here's what's going on. This stuff, it was all planned. Now, we don't know that those people are going to get that crazy. Not saying a bunch of folks didn't go and do some heinous stuff. I don't think anybody. That's unarguable. Yeah, that happened. But to try to say that this was Trump's fault is just startling, and it shows the massive stupidity on a part of a lot of these people. They're playing clips of Trump's speech, and I kept watching, and I'm waiting for them to play this one key part, which they didn't play.
I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard.
Going to be marching over there peacefully, patriotically, to make your voices heard. They didn't play that, which would have been key, except when you're trying to present sides of an argument, you're not presenting all the facts. You're presenting your facts. Isn't that how typically, whether it's a hearing, court case, something like that, you're not presenting all the facts. You're presenting facts that will help your case.
Yeah, that quote doesn't fit their narrative. And there's ethical rules about candor to the court, so you do have, you have to present the facts. But here they're not even like presenting facts. What they're doing is making more of like an argument, a persuasive, like how you would write your brief, using facts that they know, selective facts to make their case.
And if you saw it last night, it'd be interesting to see what you think. That's what it's just, there's really just nothing new. And I agree with John Solomon on Fox last night.
Independents, and those are apolitical, and those on the right will say, yeah, no, we get it, and we have more important things to be concerned about right now.
So two big things. Number one, people trying to falsely tie this all, that Trump did this, he coordinated this. That's wrong. And then as a voter, you're taking the free Como bus now because you can't afford to buy gasoline. Or when you're at the pump, you're going, I wonder about that January 6th committee while you're watching that gas just tick, 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 tick up. Does a voter care about that? And especially one of the things we're big on here on the show is there are millions of regretful Biden voters. And if you are a new regretful Biden voter joining us on Wake Up Columbia this morning, we welcome you. We're not here to chastise you. We're welcoming you with open arms. People don't care about this. They care what's affecting my pocketbook. What about these weak prosecuting attorneys? What about these politicians that want to go soft on crime? Those are the kinds of things that people are talking about. Those people in downtown Columbia last week that were running when gunshots were fired. Do you think they're thinking about the January 6th committee? No, they are thinking about safety.
And I'm thinking about my social media feed. The weekend that Top Gun came out locally, my feed was, oh my gosh, the movie's so good. Oh my gosh, Top Gun. Oh my gosh, Tom Cruise. I mean, because everybody was watching it, right? Last night, I scrolled through my feed and thought, it does anybody besides the blue checkmark talking heads, anybody locally, are they reacting to the January 6th? I think I saw two people who have, and I wanted to be like, are you okay? Do you have something better to be doing tonight? But really, I mean, the point is, like, nobody on my Facebook feed, I think a few people on my Twitter feed locally had anything to say about it, and I just don't think people were watching.
And I'll bet you're like I am, because I was going to say the same thing on Twitter. I actually got onto Twitter a little bit last night and goofed around, and I do follow the Dems and the progressives because we need to know what they are saying. So it's easy for folks right now. Well, yeah, nobody on your feed said anything about it because you just follow conservatives and Trump. And that's not an accurate statement. I just didn't see it anywhere. And do want to remind you, if you are a regretful Biden voter, again, we welcome you into the show. We will explain how some of these things work, and we will do it in simple terms. Also want to let you know this. A lot of resources out there for mental health, whether it's somebody local like Center Point Hospital, Burrell Behavioral Services. This is important, too. There's going to be a new 3-digit hotline if you need access to some kind of mental help. Coming up in July, it's going to be 988. 3-digit hotline, 988. The cool thing about that is you're actually going to be able to text if you want more privacy. So that's something that's available for folks. And the cool thing about these hotlines is that you can talk anonymously, and they're not going to send somebody to your, we got somebody who's bummed out or somebody who's depressed or somebody who they're not going to be sending folks to your house. That is coming up in July. New changes to that because that's something that is important to us, too. And I always say if you or somebody you know wants to quit drinking and drinking is causing them problems and they can't quit, you can call me. I'm more than willing to show what I have done to quit drinking for now 650-plus days. But also, if you're bummed out or you just don't know what's going on, there's something just not right, you can reach out to us for that, too. Coming up on the show this morning, one of the big highlights, I'm really excited about this. If you know somebody who typically doesn't listen to Wake Up Columbia, I hope you'll have them tune in. Hey, you got to check out Wake Up Columbia with Branden and Steph, Hannah, and Brian Hauswirth a little bit after 8 o'clock this morning, 8:10. Dude by the name of Trey Dawson. Been incarcerated numerous times over the years. Now runs a very successful dog training business that's expanding in mid-Missouri. Folks from all across mid-Missouri seeking this dude out to help them. Peach of a guy. He joins us a little bit after 8 o'clock this morning here on Wake Up Columbia on 93.9 The Eagle. 625, we're going to be doing your daily DC Rundown.
Hey, it's Coach Gary Pinkel. I like to listen to Branden Rathert on Wake Up Columbia 93.9 The Eagle.
Fox News, I'm Chris Foster. The House committee investigating the Capitol riot holds its first primetime hearing.
The panel played excerpts of taped depositions, including former Attorney General Bill Barr recalling his conversation with former President Trump about widespread election fraud.
I told him that it was crazy stuff.
Most House Republicans have criticized the panel as partisan.
Fox's Jared Halpern. The school police chief in Uvalde, Texas, Pete Arredondo, tells the Texas Tribune he'd assumed someone else had taken command as a gunman was killing people at an elementary school.
He said he struggled through dozens of keys to open a door between him and the shooter, but none worked. Arredondo's also been criticized for not carrying a radio. He told the Tribune he wanted both hands free to hold his gun.
Fox's Jill Nato, the chief, says accusations of police cowardice are untrue and unfair. 19 children and 2 teachers died. America's listening to Fox News.
And now award-winning local news coverage with Brian Hauswirth on 93.9 The Eagle.
Mild today and tomorrow, but we really start to get hot on Sunday. 95 degrees on Sunday. Good morning. Here's some of the stories we are working on for you in the 6 o'clock hour. Bipartisan eminent domain legislation. It's a top priority for the Columbia-based Missouri Cattlemen and the Pork Associations. Will be signed into law tomorrow by Governor Mike Parson. The governor signs that bill during the 19th annual Cattlemen Steak Fry in Sedalia. People come from all over the state to eat at this steak fry tomorrow. There'll be hundreds of farmers from all over the state there. Governor will sign it. He'll be joined by bill sponsor, State Senator Jason Bean. The bill specifically exempts the controversial Grain Belt project in North Missouri. It only impacts future projects. Meantime, 75 to 80 people turning out last night, open house here in Columbia, to see the detailed maps to the proposed $9 million project to upgrade Columbia's heavily traveled 63 in Grindstone Interchange. MoDOT project manager Zach Osmond tells 93.9 The Eagle the feedback was overwhelmingly positive.
I think people really see the benefit that's going to come from the loop ramp and the added capacity. There have been some concerns, mostly on the bike paths and how they're going to fit in.
Construction expected to begin in early 2024. A Moberly woman who's charged with the gruesome killing of her mother's dog will be arraigned this morning, 10:30 in Huntsville. Brianna Lingo telling police she killed the dog as a sacrifice, and the funeral is tomorrow. Rockbridge employee killed at a Tennessee rest stop. News brought to you by GAPS at 6:33. In sports, the Tampa Bay Rays beat the Cardinals yesterday at Tropicana Field 2-1, sweeping the three-game series. The frustrating thing is the Cardinals have had many opportunities to take first place in the NL Central. Milwaukee continues to lose. The Brewers are really struggling. They have now lost 6 straight games, but the Cardinals have not made up any ground. The Cardinals have lost 3 straight, getting swept by the Rays yesterday. 2-1, only 2 hits. Michaelis takes the loss. He actually pitched pretty well. 3 hits in the entire game he gave up. The difference in the game, 1 pitch, a home run from Choi. Cardinals back home tonight. They'll host the Reds, Busch Stadium, 7:15 first pitch. 93.9 The Eagle. Royals beat the Orioles last night, 7-5. Santana and Melendez homering for the Royals, who are in last place in their division. Game 2 of the series tonight, 7:10 Kauffman Stadium. Sports is brought to you this hour by the Better Business Bureau. Businesses can join and sign up for accreditation. Start online, bbb.org. 93.9 The Eagle News Time is 6:34. Traffic check, MidmoHires.com. Local companies are looking for local people. MidmoHires.com. Find a job or post your job opening today. Our roads have been pretty quiet here in mid-Missouri. If you want to report a traffic issue, call or text us 573-874-9390. More team coverage in less than 30 minutes, so we have breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle.
The radio station, 93.9 The Eagle. The show, Wake Up Columbia, with Branden Rathert, Stephanie Bell, Brian Hauswirth, and Hannah the producer, giving you news, analysis, and opinion.
Ever seen a Tom Cruise film like he couldn't figure out the plot in about 18 seconds? Oh, Christ. He's a cocktail maker. He's a pretty good cocktail maker, too. Till he has a crisis of confidence and can't make cocktails anymore. And he meets a good-looking woman who talks him into being a better cocktail maker. A riveting piece of cinema that was. Then he's a race car driver. Pretty good race car driver, too. So he has a crisis of confidence. Can't race cars anymore. Then he meets a good-looking woman who talks him into being a better race car driver. Then he's a jet pilot. So you're starting to see a pattern emerge here. Pretty good jet pilot? Yes, he was. Until he had a crisis of confidence, couldn't fly jets anymore. Then I believe he met a good-looking woman who talked him into being a better jet pilot. Then he was some kind of, I don't know what.
Who hasn't seen Top Gun Maverick yet?
I've not.
You've not?
Not me.
We've seen it.
I would have gone again if I would have had time. I would have seen it a second time.
I've not even seen the original one though.
Oh, shame.
I wouldn't waste your time on the first one because
shame.
Well, here's why. Because by today's standards, Hannah, if you were because of your age, you would look at that movie and go, "Why is it that everybody loved that movie?" That's what I think.
Because of the cinematography. You were just telling people yesterday to watch Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, which is the cinema photography in Wizard of Oz is better than that in the original Top Gun, I think.
I agree.
But there's no beach volleyball scene.
There's no topless dudes slathered in baby oil jumping around in the sand. But I think because of the movies you grew up on, Hannah, you'd look back at Top Gun and go, oh, It was all right. I'm going, and I cannot remember. Maybe Titanic was the last time I went into a movie theater and saw a movie twice. I get to take my dad to because I have to go to St. Louis because there's a wedding that I got to go to for this weekend and another one already.
Wow, you sound super excited.
Oh, I despise weddings.
Why?
I just don't like going. I had a conversation with Cousin Andy, who whenever Brian Hauswirth isn't here, Cousin Andy, he's getting married. And I applaud him, and I think it's a beautiful thing. It's so beautiful. I've done it twice. It was talking to him yesterday about his wedding because I'm trying to,
I think it was the other way around. I think Cousin Andy was trying to talk to you about his wedding because he needed to know if you were going to be there because you hadn't RSVP'd yet.
And I thought I had because I did it on the app because all these kids, they do it on apps now. You got to go and respond on an app.
He also needed to know if you were bringing a +1 and what their name would be.
Uh-oh.
And you had some issues with that.
He's like, let me look at the roster.
Pretty much. He said, I don't know who it's going to be. Can you just put Mr. Rathert's +1? And Andy's like, I'd rather not.
So it's like whenever we have somebody on the show, whenever we have a newsmaker or local thought leader talking about local issues, Brian says I have 2 questions, 2-part question. So this wedding invite from Cousin Andy, it's a 2-part question. Are you bringing somebody? It's part 1. Yes. Part 2, what's their name?
Undecided.
I don't know yet.
I can't believe you wanted to put Mr. Rathert's guest.
Because I don't know who.
Whoever you end up bringing is going to read their name card on the table and go, wow, he really wanted to bring me specifically.
Because that's just it. I don't want to go to this wedding. And it's nothing against Cousin Andy or it's nothing against my niece getting married this weekend. I just don't like going to weddings. Why on earth would I subject somebody else to that misery? That's why I don't like inviting somebody to a wedding. Usually, if I am personally invited to a wedding, not as a guest of somebody at another wedding, if I'm invited to a wedding, I don't take anybody.
Yeah, and Andy's probably thinking the same thing. Like, I don't want to pay for whoever Branden decides to pick up off the street that week and bring. Like, I want my wedding to be full of, people that I love and the people that they love. So, that's why he needs a name. He's like, this is a serious affair. You're not just allowed to, pick somebody randomly.
No, Stephanie, here's the best part. Do you want to tell her what you discovered this morning after all of that crap?
No, I'm too embarrassed.
Yeah, Branden can't even go to the wedding. So he wasted a half hour of Cousin Andy's life yesterday trying to figure out what name to put on the +1 RSVP. And come to find out, he is going to be out of town and can't even go in the first place.
That's how much I dislike weddings. I scheduled a 10-day vacation in July to not have to go to this thing.
Poor Cousin Andy.
I know.
You have a lot of weddings on your calendar, for this summer. That's kind of weird. Are you in that? Because you go to 20 when you're 20. Are you in that midlife crisis, second weddings, or now all your friends' kids are getting married? What's up?
I don't know what it is. I get these people. It's a lot of
These
people that are getting married that I don't know, and people want to take me as their +1.
Oh.
You know what's worse than going to a wedding of somebody? I love my niece dearly. She's just a very special kid, neat human being. It's been neat to see the adult that she's turned into. I love her to death. I hope the marriage is a beautiful marriage. I'm sure it will.
There's a big but coming.
But, well, it's like I saw, you ever drive by a church and they have that thing, they put those cute sayings in front of the church, and I saw one day and I'm like, yes, thank you, Central Episcopalian Church, for writing this. God says, hey, great wedding. Now, how about inviting me to the marriage? In other words, the wedding, whatever. It's a ceremony. The marriage is what's important. I am incredibly excited for Cousin Andy. Him and his soon-to-be wife are incredibly lovely creatures. My niece and the dude that she's marrying, great people. And I hope the marriage is as beautiful as they could imagine. The wedding is just a ceremony and hang out with a bunch of people. Next time I'm going to see these people will probably be at my dad's funeral or something like that. Whatever.
Such a dude thing to say.
And I hope my dad's not listening this morning.
Man, I guess when it comes time for me to get married someday, I just shouldn't even bother inviting you.
No, I'll be at your wedding. Of course, I expect to be your bridesmaid, as a matter of fact. At your wedding.
Have you seen the? No, here's what I really want Branden to do. Have you seen the adult male flower girls?
Yeah, the flower dude.
Yeah, and they have like a fanny pack, but it's like an adult male. Will you be the? I'm like already planning Hannah's wedding. I think Branden would make an excellent flower dude.
I don't know. He's kind of awkward in front of crowds.
Yeah, I'm shy and nervous.
That's the whole point of the flower dude.
To bring more attention.
You'd have to wear a suit.
John says via text 874-9398's weddings because he cannot wear his flip-flops. Incidentally, I went to a wedding, I don't know, 2-3 weeks ago. I got to wear flip-flops. And I was, nice jeans and a nice shirt and a jacket. And I brought dress shoes. And I pull up and I saw the people at the wedding. I'm like, oh, I think flip-flops are going to be acceptable here. I made a judgment on character of the people that were in attendance at this wedding and thought, yeah, I can wear flip-flops. Years ago, I had just become a member of the Wake Up Columbia family, and all of a sudden I forget the guy's name, but we were talking about weddings and how much I despised weddings. This guy that I did not know invited me to his daughter's wedding, and he said, you can wear flip-flops to my daughter's wedding. I went to the Holiday Inn Executive Center back in 2015 or 2016 just so I could wear flip-flops to this wedding with his room with several hundred people that I didn't know. And I had a nice time.
Yeah, I don't think it would fly in mid-mo, but because people are so obsessed with social media and Instagram, I've seen like people not only saying, here's the dress code, but here's the color scheme. Like you need to be in all neutrals or you need to be in jewel tones or whatever. So the pictures,
all black.
Yeah, for the guests. So that way the pictures look more beautiful. And I think I've never gotten one of those invitations yet, but.
John says, word, Stephanie. Stuart says weddings are overrated and expensive. No, but and I'm going to guess that this Stewart dude's been married more than once. Because people who have never been married before, they're not the ones, they're overrated and they're expensive. But it is the big ceremony. It's kind of like why people are fascinated with the royals. It's, I think what Hannah was saying earlier this week, it's a little girl fairy tale kind of thing.
Yeah, it's like a real-life Disney princess.
Yeah, and you get to dress up, and your parents get to pay for all the food and all these people, and you invite people that
not
you
always
kind of know, and it's kind of like, it's. I like in weddings too. It's like people's fascination with the royals. That's what a wedding is, in my opinion.
Yeah, your invitation's getting lost in the mail.
And
I'm always down for a good party. My husband and I have talked about redoing our wedding, inviting all of the same people like 20 years later, and just doing the party again.
That would be awesome. If you're not doing a wedding...
Whoa. You think that would be awesome. They're doing a second wedding, but you just crapped all over original weddings.
Oh, I should have been... I don't communicate very well. I should have said that would be awesome for you guys. If you're looking to do some things this weekend that don't involve weddings, Budweiser Clydesdales, the East Coast Hitch is coming to Warm Springs this weekend. And I like this, Lake of the Ozarks. They're going to make another attempt to beat the world's largest boat parade. They're doing this tomorrow, so that might be fun. Trying to beat a world record, which was set several years ago in Malaysia. Is this a true story? I want to ask my attorney friend Stephanie Bell in California, because I heard it and I'm like, oh, it's a Babylon Bee article because of what it has to deal. Here's the real things in California, but I don't believe this. Something California ruled that bees are technically fish.
True. Yes. Facts.
How does that work?
Well, it's a lot of good lawyering, I think. But so they have like this Endangered Species Act, and the environmentalists, maybe like the folks with the no-mow signs, were trying to protect bees because they're good pollinators. And they said, hey, bees should be protected under the Endangered Species Act. And the agriculture folks who deal with bees and didn't want all these extra regulations related to bees said, no, it's fish. And so animals and fish. And the environmentalists got creative, looked at the definition of fish, and realized it said mollusk, crustacean, invertebrate, or amphibian, but it never said that the invertebrates have to be aquatic. So they came in and they said, under that definition of fish, bee actually qualifies. And so in the lower courts, they kind of disagreed. But ultimately, California's Court of Appeals last week declared once and for all that bees are in fact fish and covered by the Endangered Species Act.
Now, what concerns me here in town these people along Scott Boulevard, because apparently after we brought this up on the show, the city has gone in and chopped down all those. They've murdered those bee and monarch butterfly restoration habitats, or weeds, as most people call them. Here's a great marketing opportunity for those. But what about the bee and monarch butterfly restoration? They can take a cue for California. It's not a bee restoration habitat.
It's now a fish habitat, apparently. It gives me the giggles because there's kind of this age-old law school example in case that, is a burrito a sandwich? And it's kind of the same thing. And there was this case where Panera was in a strip mall and they had an exclusive lease and they said you can't rent to anybody else who sells sandwiches. And then they rented out to I think a Qdoba or whatever, right? And Panera's like, hey, you can't rent to them. And the strip mall owner is like, they sell tacos and burritos. Tacos and burritos aren't sandwiches. And Panera's like, really? And so the definition, Panera was like, okay, a sandwich is like a carb, a piece of bread with some type of filling. That's the definition for sandwich. And, technically like a burrito or a taco, it's got a carb, it's got a filling. And so the court in that case basically said, no, a burrito's not a sandwich, but in other states, they've come down differently, and it's kind of this weird definitional. You can argue a long time about whether it is or it isn't.
Or is a Pop-Tart a ravioli?
Man, I love hanging out with attorneys, man. I mean, seriously, the converse, because you're not parsing words, but definitions. Definitions. And
yeah, it matters. If you're the only sandwich shop in a strip mall, or if you have to deal with somebody else who's kind of, encroaching on your business, that matters to real people.
Via text 874-9390, Bob says, I am grateful for people who still have common sense. I would count Bob among one of those. He says, I didn't watch this primetime hearing last night regarding January 6th. Fox will have more on this top of the hour, but there's nothing new. And you're going to see, if you see the headlines, USA Today, CNN, whoever, they say, oh, the new footage, new angles. There is nothing new to the story.
The only new angles are the ones the Democrats are trying to put on the story.
That's the new spin. Coming up, man, I'm glad to see I'm not the only, a lot of times we get guests on here and I make mistakes on timing and phone numbers. I'm getting better, though. It's been a while since I've done that. Glad to know I'm not the only one. Somebody made a huge faux pas on a national level. That story coming up about 5 minutes from now here on Wake Up Columbia on 93.9 The Eagle.
Carry on my wayward son. There'll be peace when you are done. Lay your weary head to rest. Don't you cry no more.
When you start a new job, normally you have to wait for all those awesome benefits to kick in. Not at Hitachi Energy. They value all their employees, even the ones that just started, which is why pay starts at $21 to $25 an hour with a $3,000 phased signing bonus and benefits day one. Hitachi Energy not only inspires the world, you inspire them. So apply today in Jefferson City or online at hitachienergy.com/careers. Inspire your future. Inspire the next. Hitachi Energy. Hitachi Energy is inspiring the next workforce to power the world, and it all starts with their facility. It's climate controlled for all seasons, which means it will always be a comfortable place to work, and not every facility around can say that. Let Hitachi inspire the next step in your career. Hitachi Energy's pay starts $21 an hour and benefits starting day one. Apply today in Jeff City or online at hitachienergy.com/careers. Inspire your future, inspire the next. Hitachi Energy.
putting the fun in dysfunctional. Wake Up Columbia, 93.9 The Eagle.
When I became chief, I said I would address concern about bias policing. I said I would not police to a number. That stands true today.
Chief Jeff Jones, I am nominating him. I'm actually making him one of our winners of the week. We're doing that 8:35 this morning. If there's somebody that you would like to put forward as a winner of the week or a loser of the week, please do so. Send us a text, 874-9390, 874-9390. And do like the local stuff, too, whether it's just somebody you know that you want to highlight as a winner this week or some kind of silly government thing like the Fish Restoration Project along Scott Boulevard. So is it am I being technically correct if we're basing this whole thing, the weeds which have now been cut down thanks to folks speaking out like, what the heck is this kind of crap? It's coming down. The signs have come down. See what happens when you take part? Things happen. And it started by folks calling a local radio station. That's the power of local talk radio. Change was made. Folks were upset about something. And those weeds, these no-mow zones, and we put up signs every 15 feet say, hey, don't mow here because we're trying to restore the butterflies and the bees. California now says bees can be classified as fish. So can we put up signs along Scott Boulevard and say, hey, no mowing. This is a fish restoration project right along Scott.
It would be just as crazy as the current signs about the no-mow zone and that mention nothing about butterflies, even though that's apparently what it's all about.
It's a real fish out of water.
That's a few points there.
Thanks.
I'm working on it. Sometimes it's been a while since I've goofed on a guest or booked a guest for the wrong day or something like that. It's been a while.
Really?
Yeah. When was the last time?
I don't know.
Because it's been a while. Chuck Todd did the same thing on a national level.
A little snippy this morning.
You're not being snippy. You think
no,
so?
I'm talking to
You're
about
being
you.
snippy.
Oh, I disagree.
Yeah, that's because it's been a while.
I didn't say it like that. I said, well, because it's been a while. I didn't say it like that.
And now he's trying to justify it because other people also do it.
So this is way worse than what Rathert would do. Chuck Todd reached out to the congressman from Alaska, Don Young, wanted him to come on the show. Story we covered in depth a couple of months ago when the congressman died. Oh, God. Hi, I'm Branden Rathert for Salter Lawn Service. Salter, one call, does it all. Right now, they are looking for folks like you, looking for good people. Jobs start up to $20 an hour. And that's good starting pay. I can tell you of several people that right now work at Salter Lawn Service, and they've worked their way up over the years. A couple of them, at least two, they're in management positions. And I think that's what a lot of folks are looking for. Okay, I want good pay. You get that. I want paid time off. You get that. Benefits, retirement. You want things that are going to help your future. Salter Lawn Service can do that. If you know somebody coming home for the summer, or you get people saying, hey, you know of any good jobs around? You can say, yeah, actually, I heard Branden Rathert on 93.9 The Eagle talking about these job openings at Salter Lawn Service. Room for advancement, great work. You're helping people, really good starting pay. You can work your way up. Check it out. Salter, one call, does it all.
The Capitol riot goes prime time. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
What I saw was just a war scene.
Capitol Police Officer Caroline Edwards testifying before the House committee investigating last year's riot. She suffered a head injury.
I was pushed backwards, and my foot caught the stair behind me, and my chin hit the handrail, and then at that point, I had blacked out.
They also played new footage of Trump supporters storming in, with the Democratic chairman calling it an attempted coup.
Committee Vice Chair Republican Liz Cheney says former President Trump oversaw a 7-part plan to overturn the 2020 election.
President Trump engaged in a massive effort to spread false and fraudulent information.
The committee says it will make that case with new evidence over the course of several more hearings planned over the next few weeks.
Fox's Jared Halpern at the Capitol. Most other Republican lawmakers call the investigation political, and last night's hearing theater. Congressman Jim Banks tells Fox.
The entire point behind this process is to prosecute Donald Trump for crimes that he did not commit. We all know this is a sham.
The school police chief in Uvalde, Texas, under scrutiny for the response to last month's elementary school massacre, is telling his side of the story. Pete Arredondo told the Texas Tribune he was in the school and tried dozens of keys to get into a classroom that had a fortified door they couldn't kick in, and he says he assumed someone else was in command of the scene, not him. A man's in custody in Maryland the day after police say he shot 4 co-workers at Columbia Machine in Smithsburg, killing 3 of them. He then drove away. State Police Lieutenant Colonel Bill Doffelmeyer.
When the troopers went to stop the vehicle, the suspect immediately started firing multiple rounds at the troopers.
The gunman was wounded. So was one of those troopers who was said to be doing well. We'll get an update on inflation later this hour. May's consumer price surge. Gas at another record high overnight. AAA has regular averaging $4.98 a gallon. America's listening to Fox News.
Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, and Elizabeth Warren, they're all attacking America's tech innovators. The left's bill, S-2992, would take away the digital tools small businesses rely on, empower China to beat America in the race for new technologies, and increase the risk of cyber attacks. When liberals attack America's tech innovators, they're really attacking everyday Americans and Main Street businesses. American jobs, America's security, and the online privacy of the American people are all on the line. Why would Senate conservatives support this liberal agenda that threatens American innovation? We need to stop Pelosi, Schumer, Warren, and the rest of the D.C. liberals from taking away our technology and making China stronger at America's expense. Call the U.S. Senate today at 202-224-3121. Tell Senate Republicans to oppose S-2992. ProtectingTaxpayers.org, paid for and authorized by Taxpayers Protection Alliance.
.939 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. Robinson saves you time. It is 63 degrees right now in Columbia. We're expecting a nice day today, but we are going to have some rain, some scattered showers and storms throughout the day, but dry time as well. Our high around 78. Cloudy tonight with a low near 62. Tomorrow it's going to be sunny and a high of 84 degrees. Good morning. I'm Brian Hauswirth. Here are some of the stories that we are working on for you in this 7 o'clock hour. State transportation officials say feedback about the proposed Highway 63 and Grindstone Parkway interchange in Columbia is overwhelmingly positive. About 80 people attended Thursday's open house at the New Haven Elementary School. Many of you were there, and you all wanted to see a dozen detailed maps on the project. That's the biggest thing people wanted to see. State Department of Transportation Project Manager Zach Osmond says the proposed loop ramp will improve traffic flow.
If you're coming from the east, in the future, you're going to be able to make a right turn, take this loop ramp that'll take you underneath the overpass. And if you're coming from the other direction, you'll still get to use the existing ramp.
Osmond says MoDOT has the funding for the $9 million project. Construction expected to begin in early 2024. And he also says eventually, a few years from now, they're going to look at the other side of that intersection, the Ponderosa area near La Crosse Lumber. They'll look at that as well down the line. Much more on this, and we link to the maps on our website. It's 939theeagle.com. Meantime, a Moberly woman will be arraigned here in a few hours in the Randolph County Circuit Court. She's accused of killing a dog as a sacrifice.
29-year-old Brianna Lingo is accused of taking the family member's dog and killing it. Investigators say the dog's owner told them Lingo had killed the dog as part of a sacrifice. John Marsh, Zimmer News Network.
All right, John, thank you. The Moberly Police Department's probable cause statement quotes Lingo is telling detectives she strangled that dog, then burned its body in a fire pit. Arraignment 10:30 this morning before Judge James Cooksey. Now, she is also charged with a previous felony, domestic assault. That's on top of this new charge. They're going to try to revoke her bond this morning. If so, she'll be sent to the jail. 10:30 again this morning, her hearing, Huntsville. Funeral services are set for tomorrow in Columbia. The popular Rockbridge High School homeschool communicator killed at a Tennessee rest stop. I spoke with Parker Millard Funeral Home yesterday. They are expecting a large crowd tomorrow at the Crossing Church here in Columbia. It's on Grindstone. Michael Woods' funeral will start at 1:30. Former colleagues and students are praising Mr. Woods' legacy on the funeral home website. One of his students, Jaden Hernandez, wrote this in part, quote, "I never got to say goodbye. I never got to say thank you for believing in me, for having my back when I needed someone to talk to," end of quote. Other students saying very similar things, that he was there. He was like a father figure, many of them said on the website. Woods' son is charged with shooting his father to death rest stop near Chattanooga. He remains jailed without bond. Bipartisan eminent domain legislation will be signed into law tomorrow by Missouri's Governor Mike Parson. It would prevent private for-profit companies from taking private land for private gain. The governor signs that bill tomorrow at a major dinner in St. Hilliard. It's called the Cattleman's Steak Fry. Hundreds of farmers from across the state will be there. State Senator Jason Bean of Peach Orchard will join the governor at the bill signing ceremony, along with a number of the commodity group leaders. Joint Committee on Agriculture Chairman Mike Hafner expected to be there as well. Mr. Hafner says the bill says Missouri's open for economic development, but not on the backs of Missouri farmers and ranchers. And tomorrow's your opportunity to receive a free COVID vaccination at a Comfort Clinic in Columbia, 10 to 1 tomorrow at the Columbia-Boone County Health Department on West Worley. It's open to all ages. It is free. You don't need health insurance to get in. All COVID vaccines are available. And by the way, we have had 84 new COVID cases since yesterday here in Boone County. 55 of those are children under the age of 5. Again, that event tomorrow, 10 until 1. News is brought to you this hour by The Candy Factory, downtown Columbia. You can learn more, thecandyfactoryonline.com. 93.9 The Eagle News Time is 7:07. In sports, Rays beat the Cardinals Thursday at Tropicana Field 2-1. They sweep the 3-game series. The Cardinals still, though, just a half game behind the Brewers in the National League Central. That's because Milwaukee has lost 6 straight games. Cardinals back home tonight hosting the Reds, Busch Stadium. First pitch 7:15, 93.9 The Eagle. Royals beat the Orioles last night 7-5. Santana home run, Melendez a home run for the Royals. Game 2 of that series tonight, Kauffman Stadium 7:10. Looks like if you're heading either to Kauffman or Busch tonight, there could be rain in the forecast in both of those. Not seeing anything severe in the models, but certainly you're going to need to have an umbrella handy for those. Sports brought to you by Eddaberry Auction and Realty. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 7:08. All right, John, thank you. Great work this morning on television with Megan Drakus, as always. Right now we have partly cloudy skies, 63. 7:08 traffic check, midmohires.com. Local companies are looking for local people. Our roads have been quiet in mid-Missouri. If you see a traffic issue, you can give us a call or a text, 573-874-9390. More team coverage in less than 30 minutes. Breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, the 93.9 The Eagle.
just leave me alone.
Tell 'em it's going to be a rock and roll weekend. I don't want to think, I just want to bang on the drum all day.
Welcome back to a feel-good Friday. All the bridges are up. Nothing big should be getting in your way today. Scattered showers and thunderstorms, high 78. Gas prices are still high. Joe's in office. Big story last night. This hearing, primetime hearing. Man, it was put together, by the way, by a television executive. There was a halftime show and everything. There is nothing new, and they keep saying a lot of these news headlines you're going to see today. Make sure you tell your coworkers and your friends at happy hour tonight. They keep saying, all this new stuff. There is nothing new. New video angles from whatever happened on that day. There is nothing new. Now, let's move forward. Let's move forward by moving backwards to about 15 minutes ago.
Yes, I am here for this. A little fact check, shall we?
So a few minutes ago on the show, we were talking about MSNBC's Chuck Todd was trying to book congressman from Alaska, Don Young. Well, the problem is Don Young, the story that Brian and I actually, because there's an interesting history to Don Young anyway.
Yeah, there really is.
Don Young died a couple of months ago. And Chuck Todd is trying to book him on the show. Wow. And it's a problem I can relate with because there have been times I've booked guests, wrong day, wrong time frame, what have you. And we got into this discussion. I'm working on it. Sometimes it's been a while since I've goofed on a guest or booked a guest for the wrong day or something like that. It's been a while.
Story of my life, bud.
Really?
Yeah. When was the last time?
I don't know.
Because it's been a while. Chuck Todd did... Well... So when that statement was made, that was an actual factual statement. Been a while since I've messed up.
When was the last time? Yeah.
That was a factual statement. As soon as we get done talking about that, Hannah gleefully runs in. Ha ha ha, guess what? Guess what? Guess what? Your 8:10 guest is here. So
one of our coworkers came into the studio and said, "Hey, you have a guest here," and I immediately was like, "Oh my gosh!"
You were pretty stoked, weren't you?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So welcome. So I keep saying, tell your friends, especially if you know somebody who's never listened to Wake Up Columbia on 93.9 The Eagle. Now it'd be a good morning at 8:10 because we're having this really cool guy on the show. There was an article recently in Inside Columbia magazine about him. The guy's name is Trey Dawson, and he's got a pretty interesting story. Trey, welcome into the show. Glad you could be here. So you're doing some cool stuff now. I want to highlight that, but let's talk about the road getting there. You got in trouble, drugs, alcohol, jails. Tell us some of your story. What happened? What'd you get in trouble for? What happened in life?
Well, I only have one thing on my mind right now. I'm wondering if a hot dog is a taco.
And could a taco therefore then be considered a hot dog? Going back to a previous conversation on the show regarding legal definitions of sandwiches and tacos.
And since we're going to be talking a little bit about dogs, I kind of want to start this off, maybe loosen myself up. So I got a joke for the listeners. Why did the cowboy want to get a wiener dog?
Why did the cowboy want to get a wiener dog?
Right. He wanted a long little doggy. Okay. I'm gone. I'm done. You guys can kick me out now.
All right. So what happened in life, man? I understand you've been in jail, drugs, booze, alcohol. And I'm fascinated by the story because I've had those same issues.
Right. You know, it started out pretty young. I think my first juvenile facility, I was probably 7. I remember it was Heartland Hospital in Nevada, Missouri. From there, it was one after the other. I think I tried to count one time. I was upwards of maybe 15 different juvenile facilities, and then eventually graduated into the adult system when I was probably 18 to a county jail. Substance use became a problem in my life probably around the age of 13. Started out with weed, drinking, and it just kind of progressed into that.
What kind of trouble were you getting into?
You know, really bad behavior in school, not listening. A few law issues when I was younger, but that really didn't come on until a little bit later.
So.
Yeah. What happened later that you started getting into some so county jails? Did you do time in prison too?
I did. So 27 different county jails across 12 different states. I've been at 5 different penitentiaries in 2 different states, Utah and Missouri.
I've been in Salt Lake City jail, but never prison.
I was in Salt Lake City jail. I'd have to say probably one of the worst county jails I've ever been in.
So here's. I woke up one time. Last thing I recall, I was at the Whiskey Bar Airport in Salt Lake City. Next thing I know, I wake up. I'm in this white cinder block room, and I got a bologna sandwich under my head. That was my experience in the Salt Lake jail.
I feel the struggle. I feel that.
So what kind of? So your legal issues basically were going back to it was drugs and alcohol.
Well, it was, and stuff that surrounded that. So theft and being able to just get money, for the drugs. That's where a lot of them issues came into play at.
So what was going through all that jails and prisons and just the hell that is addiction? Besides, listen, even if you're not having issues because of drugs and alcohol, it's hell. That's my experience. It's just this mind twist, circular hell that just doesn't stop. Even if you're not experiencing external issues, but you were legal issues. All of that. What was life like for you personally?
I mean, you really just become a slave to it, especially when opiates got introduced. And I started doing heroin when I was probably 27. Tried it for the first time in San Francisco. Didn't really like it. At that time, I was using meth, smoking crack, really all kind of stimulants, drinking.
Just anything to make your brain feel different.
Anything. So I wish I could tell you initially that it was, I used drugs for a reason to maybe cope with something or trauma or something like that. I started using drugs because I liked the way they made me feel.
Thank you. So many people ask me, well, Branden, why do you drink? Why do you do this? Why? Because it feels good.
Right, and that feel good became a necessity. And when that necessity became something that I had to do every single day, especially as we know with opiate addiction, where it becomes a body addiction to where, I just wanted, we use the term a lot, I just need to get right, or I just need to feel right. I just need this to feel normal. And I used to tell myself, if I could just feel normal, if I could just go to sleep at night. I remember times detoxing from a county jail where, I would stay up for 10, 15, 25 days at a time with no drugs, just my body detoxing from heroin.
You go to county jail and you tell the jailers, hey, listen, I'm on some serious drugs. You got to help me to detox. They don't help you detox.
Right. They give you a protocol pack, but that usually consists of a couple Benadryls and some Pepto-Bismol or something, and it's a struggle.
Nothing. Our guest is Trey Dawson, recently featured in an article, great article, in Inside Columbia Magazine. There's a great ending to this story, great ending to what is happening in this guy's life today, but did want to give you some background so you could see. I mean, this guy he's been through the ringer. And I'm guessing, if I think about my own story, there are times people say, Branden, this is going to kill you. And I'd be like, good. The idea that, hey, if you keep doing this, you're going to die. That was not sufficient enough motivation for me to quit doing that stuff. I wanted to die.
Right.
Was that your experience?
Well, I think I was too selfish to actually want to die. I just didn't want to feel the way that I was feeling.
Yeah.
But it didn't matter. It didn't matter at that point. In 2015, I caught endocarditis. That was a staph infection in my heart that affected my tricuspid and my aortic valve. I also had that paired with necrotizing ammonia, and I get kind of emotional about this, but big shout out to my sister who's listening right now, Jackie, Sedalia, Missouri. She stood by me, was part of that hospital stay where I almost died, and I'm still dealing with some aftermath of that. But that was a kind of a big wake-up call, but it wasn't a big enough wake-up call for me to stop using drugs, because I actually went to a nursing home after that because I had IV antibiotics and they were trying to stop it, and I ended up getting kicked out of the nursing home because I robbed the med cart. So, yeah.
Funny, not funny.
Right?
No, I get it, but that's
the real ugly head of addiction, right? I mean, we can try to dress it up as pretty as we can, but, I was digging rigs out of biohazard boxes, sticking needles in my foot. There were so many things that I was doing that just was not me.
Yep. So. And that's the thing, for me at least, It was when I finally quit. It wasn't that I didn't have, and I've had legal issues, marriage issues, lost jobs. I've had all of that. When I quit, the day I took my last drink and drug, August 24th, 2020.
Hold up. Can we give a clap for that, guys?
Right?
That is awesome, dude. That is awesome.
There was nothing externally going on in life.
Right.
I was just done in my heart and in my head, and I couldn't do it anymore. By the way, if you're watching, I would suggest, if you've never watched on YouTube, on our YouTube channel, go to 93.9 The Eagle. You can see our guest here in studio. And make this brief. Are you able to hang out for a while?
Absolutely. I clock in at work at 8, but I believe my boss is listening to this, so maybe she'll give me a little bit of play on that.
Very cool.
Thank you, Branden. This is an amazing interview, and we appreciate you joining us, sir. And for people who haven't read it, Branden's right, Inside Columbia Magazine, Madeline's story. Two very quick questions. I want to ask you about the drugs, and then I want to also ask about the puppies for parole, because it's a huge program, and that really ties in with what you've done. Full disclosure, I was spokesman at the Department of Corrections years ago, 2006 to 8. At the time, sir, I'd say Missouri Department of Corrections, 80 to 90% of the inmates, the wardens told me, had drug problems or substance abuse problems. Is that still, and again, we're not giving names, you think that number's still about right, or is it even higher now?
I think I would be confident enough to say that it's higher.
Higher?
Yeah.
90%?
90%, if not, upwards of everyone there deals with something, and most of it is substance use.
So that obviously that's an issue.
Absolutely.
And no question. I'm not surprised, because it was even bad then. And then a question about puppies for parole, because for people who don't know what it is, it's a program, and you know it better than anybody. It's a program that really helps the inmates work with dogs. It helps the dogs, but it helps the inmates. And you are quoted in this article as saying this, quote, "A lot of these guys, yourself included, a lot of these guys have never had that unconditional love that a dog supplies." I want to read that again. I want people to listen closely to what this man said here. A lot of these guys, talking about prisoners, have never had that unconditional love that a dog supplies. End of quote. 97% of the inmates get out at some point. People don't realize that. 3% stay in, a handful get executed, obviously. But most get out. But if they don't have that love, most of the time they go right back.
Absolutely.
Hey, let's do this, because there's a lot here, and we've got to get on to the next thing. But I want you to, if you can hang out for a while, I want to get some more of your story. Our guest, fascinating story, Trey Dawson, county jails, drugs, alcohol, prison, some of the things he's doing today. We'll continue to hear his story. And What's Hot with Hannah? What do you got for What's Hot with Hannah today?
Well, it's a story that gives me major Willy Wonka vibes, and I don't know the ending, so maybe I shouldn't be telling it.
The ending to the story that Hannah doesn't know is coming up. We'll do that about 7:25 here on Wake Up Columbia on 93.9 The Eagle. Good morning.
Hold on, selector.
This is the show people are talking about. Wake Up Columbia with Branden Rathert. 93.9 The Eagle.
I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard.
Incidentally, that was not of all the Trump clips played at this primetime hearing yesterday. That clip was not played. Welcome into the show. We were hanging out with Trey Dawson. Great article in Inside Columbia magazine. Guy's been in prison and jails and drugs, digging stuff out of the trash so he could inject some drugs into his veins. We're going to hear more of his story. More importantly, what it is that he is doing today. This is a remarkable story of hope that I hope you will turn your friends on to. Right now, 7:25-ish, which means it's
7:28.
Time for a What's Hot with Hannah.
Have you seen the movie Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory?
Never.
Are you kidding me?
No, and I'm afraid to admit it. I'm the only one who hasn't seen it.
So you haven't seen like either version of the movie then? Not with Johnny Depp? Oh my gosh.
I know.
I've seen them both.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Same.
So you know the scene where Augustus Gloop falls into the chocolate pond and like gets whisked away really quickly?
Yes.
Yes.
I was asking the room, but yeah. So that actually happened to two people in Pennsylvania this week. They were at the Mars Wrigley chocolate factory, and two of the employees actually fell into like a big like vat of chocolate, and they had to like be rescued. They had to cut a hole in the side of the chocolate tank to get the two people out.
I love the news reporting on this, by the way, from CNN.
Okay, there's a crazy story happening right now in Pennsylvania. It's
really crazy.
There's a rescue underway. Two people are trapped in a chocolate tank at the Mars M&M factory in Elizabethtown, Pennsylvania.
And they did clarify because they were kind of laughing and joking, and then they had to come back and go, well, if nobody was hurt, then it's funny.
Right, so that, yeah, the USA Today article that I am using does not give an update on their condition, but it does say that they had to be transported to the hospital by ambulance and helicopter.
Is it hot? Like if it's melted chocolate? Or is it like Hershey
It's got,
syrup?
at least got to be warm. I mean,
And you come out, is it hard-coated like magic shell? You move. Coming up, we're going to continue our story with Trey Dawson. Remarkable story of hope and proof that, just about anybody can turn their life around and do good for other people. More of his story, his prisons, and what he is doing today. That's 5 minutes from now.
Fox News, I'm Chris Foster. The committee investigating the Capitol riot says it will prove President Trump was at the center of a conspiracy to overturn the election. Its first primetime hearing had new video of police officers being attacked.
U.S. Capitol Police Officer Caroline Edwards described being knocked unconscious.
I felt the bike rack come on top of my head.
The committee played excerpts of recorded depositions with former Trump administration officials, including former Attorney General Bill Barr, testifying he told former President Trump allegations of a rigged election were false.
Fox's Jared Halpern. A Grand Rapids, Michigan police officer who shot a man in the back of the head during a struggle is being charged with second-degree murder.
He is presumed innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt.
That's the prosecutor in the case, Chris Becker. The shooting happened after a traffic stop in April. America's listening to Fox News.
And now award-winning local news coverage with Brian Hauswirth on 93.9 The Eagle.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. It is 7:31 and Robinson saves you time. 64 right now in Columbia. We're expecting a high today of around 78. Low tonight 62, and then it'll be mild again tomorrow. We really get hot on Sunday and a high of 94 degrees. Good morning, everyone. I'm Brian Hauswirth, and we begin this 7 o'clock hour with bipartisan eminent domain legislation. It's been the top priority for the Missouri Cattlemen and Pork Associations here in Columbia. It becomes the law of the land tomorrow when the governor signs it.
The governor will sign the bill during the 19th annual Cattlemen's Steak Fry tomorrow in Sedalia. Bill sponsor State Senator Jason Bean will join the governor at the event, along with commodity group leaders. Bean says the bill ensures that eminent domain can only be used for necessary public services that truly serve the common good. The bill specifically exempts the controversial Grain Belt project in North Missouri and only impacts future projects. Don Luzader, 93.9 The Eagle.
Don, thank you. The Department of Transportation says feedback has been overwhelmingly positive about the proposed $9 million project to upgrade Columbia's heavily traveled 63 and Grindstone Parkway interchange. Key part of that project is the new loop ramp that'll be built. A key part of it as well is widening Grindstone New Haven through the stretch. Park Millard Funeral Service expects a large turnout for tomorrow's funeral. A Columbia Rockbridge High School employee killed in late May at Tennessee rest stop. That funeral tomorrow, according to Millard Family Chapels, 1:30 at the Crossing Church, Grindstone Parkway, for 55-year-old Michael Woods Jr. News is brought to you this hour by Atterbury Auction. Our news time is 7:33. In sports, the Cardinals have really struggled the last 3 games, but they have not lost any ground in the standings because Milwaukee has also lost a number of games. They've actually lost 6 straight games. The Rays beat the Cardinals 2-1 at Tropicana Field yesterday, sweeping the 3-game series over St. Louis. Cardinals with only 2 hits in the game. Miles Michaelis pitching very well. He only gave up 3 hits. Not a bad pitch. The difference in the game, a home run from Choi. That was in the 5th inning. Cardinals back home tonight. They'll host the Reds Busch Stadium. First pitch 7:15 right here on 93.9 The Eagle. Royals beat the Orioles last night 7-5. Game 2 of the series is tonight at 7:10. The Royals are in last place in their division. They are 19-37. Sports is brought to you by Visit Missouri. Visit mo.com and discover the possibilities. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 7:34. Traffic check with MidmoHires.com. Local companies are looking for local people. MidmoHires.com. Our roads are pretty quiet here in mid-Missouri. Just a quick traffic note for those of you who will be in the downtown Columbia area on Sunday. East Broadway will be closed between 8th and Providence almost all day, from 5 in the morning until 6 p.m. Sunday. That's for the Mid-Missouri Soapbox Derby. They do that most every year. I don't believe they did it last year because of COVID, as I recall. I don't think they did. But they are doing it Sunday, and that road will be closed at that time. So you're going to have alternative routes during that time, 5 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Sunday. We'll have another update at 8:03. Breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle.
The radio station, 93.9 The Eagle. The show, Wake Up Columbia, with Branden Rathert, Stephanie Bell, Brian Hauswirth, and Hannah the producer, giving you news, analysis, and opinion.
Here's the thing about Biden. He starts so strong in his speeches. You know what I mean? He starts so strong and confident, but then he will whisper the most important part of the speech, right? We're just the greatest country in the world. We gotta build back better, but we need to stop systematic racism. Who's coaching his speeches? Owen Wilson? I mean, come on. I mean, wow. We're building back better.
That's a great Owen Wilson and Biden impersonation from the comedian Tyler Fisher. Feel Good Friday. Glad you could be here. Something we can do for you. 874-9390 is our text. 874-9390. Trey Dawson, great article featured in Inside Columbia Magazine recently. Joining us in studio this morning. Here's why he's here. He's shared some very in-depth stuff for years since a very early age. Legal trouble, drugs, digging needles out of trash cans to shoot drugs into his veins. Pretty much did most of the spectrum of drugs that's out there, and alcohol, some near-death experiences. County, we've even been in some of the same county jails across America. Right. That's not. Oh, this is my friend Trey. We've been in the same county jail.
That makes
before.
us closer, Branden.
Right?
It makes us closer.
Some kind of connection there, and I always say this. We joke about it. If you know somebody who is drinking, drugging, and it's causing them problems and they can't quit, please reach out to me. You can do so anonymously through Hannah, and she will get me the info. We do this all the time. Let me know. I will share with you what I have done. Prisons, all this stuff, stealing, thieving, all that. And how many times have you been to, not county jails, prison?
Well, I've been to 5 different prisons on 2 different bits.
Two different bits in prison. So what happened? You said you had almost a near-death experience. Your sister was an amazing help to you.
My sister, my niece, my family. So I lost my mom and my dad both while I was in prison. My mom, when I was 19, I called her from a county jail to bail me out, and she said no, and I said, you know what, F you, and I hung up the phone on her. And I am getting bonded out about a week later, but it's by my dad because she had an aneurysm and she passed away.
So that was the last conversation with you?
It was, and that's kind of when I hitchhiked out of here. One ride all the way from Lenexa, Kansas to Anaheim, California, and just kind of vagabond myself across the West Coast for 10 plus years till I went to prison in Utah. So
did you? Is that something you've dealt with now? You've been able to, hey, yep, I did that, and it sucks. It hurts when I still think about it, but you've dealt with that.
I have, and then when I came back in 2013, and I was in a county jail in Clay County, Missouri, up in Kansas City, my dad passed away. So my sister had to tell me about that, and so that was rough. But she has been a huge support through that entire process.
We're getting a lot of texts, 874-9390. One of our listeners says, hey, thanks for sharing your story. She said she had a son that died in prison of a fentanyl overdose. I want to make sure people are hearing your story. If you scoot just a little bit closer to the microphone there. So then what was it, because you've been to prisons and jails and it almost died, and you told your mom to F off in your last phone conversation with her before she died. What happened that finally you said, okay, this is not working? What? Because people will say this, well, just quit. I wish it were that easy. Right. What happened in your head and in your heart that all of a sudden it changed for you?
Well, in my heart, my relationship with Christ. I was in Algoa, a group of men called Men of Impact, a group from the Crossing here in Columbia, comes out there, Neil Riley and his group of just prison ministry disciples came out there and did a group in the chapel. I'm still part of that small group today. I know they're probably listening. I was there this morning before I left to come here and ask them all to pray for me. So huge support with that. But that's where that first kind of transformation in my heart started, was my relationship with Christ, and just knowing that I've already went down every single road there is to go down. There was no way I was going to be able to get out of prison and use drugs successfully, and I had to use every single road that had a dead end to it before I realized, you know what, there just ain't no more roads, dude.
There's nothing left.
No,
there's nothing left. I'm either, listen, and you experience several. We end up either in institutions, prisons, or dead.
Absolutely.
That's what happens.
Absolutely.
So, and I want to ask you this: so when you went to this group, this Christian group in the church, and be honest, were you going because it gets me out of myself for a while, or were you really looking for something?
No. So after the 6-week kind of class, they served ice cream. So that was my initial. Plan. I wanted the ice cream that they were going to be serving in the chapel.
But isn't it great, regardless of what your beliefs in your God are, whatever God it is that you believe in, God works in mysterious ways.
Absolutely.
Trey likes ice cream. I'll get him one way or the other. And so this group started changing.
It did. That and, in the dog program, when I got to Algoa, I was seeing guys out there walking dogs, and I said, you know what, it'd be cool just to have a dog in my cell. And I applied for the dog program, and I got in, and it wasn't long. I just, you get so many dogs. People ask me, when I go to people's homes now, they say, I'm super transparent about my story. I'm like, hey, do you know where I started training dogs at? And I tell them, hey, I started training dogs in prison. I haven't had one person, I love Columbia because we're such a dog-friendly community. It's just an amazing community when it comes to canine love. And these guys are, my clients. I call them family. Anybody that's with Backyard Canine, they're with Backyard Canine for life. I'm kind of always here for them. But in that process, being able to be transparent about my story, there's something attractive about that, I think, to them. And I think they're able to kind of relate, and that's where that real relationship happens.
So you're in this prison program, this dog program, and you start learning to train dogs.
I do.
Prison.
Yeah, not only train dogs, but train people how to train dogs. And I think that's the key. We can train dogs, but if we don't train the people and the owners how to train the dogs, then dogs just go back to the kind of the path of least resistance. So it's about training the owner.
So you start doing this in prison, training people, training dogs, and then you get out of prison. Did you think, this is something I'm going to do when I get out of prison?
I didn't know. I know I loved it. I know it was something that was always going to be part of me. December 25th, 2019, I got to a program called Into Action here in Columbia, Missouri, and I get too emotional. It was Christmas Day, and there wasn't a lot of people there. People were, visiting their family for Christmas, and I went up to my room and I sat down, and it may seem cliche, but I pulled out my Bible and I'm sitting there reading on my bunk, and my door pops open, and here comes this dog, and he jumps on my bed, and his name is Job, little black and white Amstaff that we have as a house dog in Shiloh, and he sat down beside me, and he was just there. I had not seen him when I initially went into the house, and I laid down and I took a nap, and I woke back up. I went in the kitchen and made something to eat. I went back to lay down, and he was still in the same position he was when I came, and I ended up going to sleep, waking up the next morning, and he was still there in the exact. So I don't know if I was in my bed or I was in his bed, but he was still there, and I knew that next morning that I was right where I was supposed to be. So
it's powerful stuff, man. I appreciate you sharing that. So your God got you through ice cream and dogs.
Yes.
So what are you doing today?
Wow. So there's a lot going on. First and foremost, Into Action is where my heart's at. Prison ministry, being able to kind of do this reentry with these guys. Big shout out to Dan Hannikin. I know he's probably listening, my mentor.
He does some good work.
He does amazing work. God put a vision in his heart, and he's carrying it out on the north side of town in a small little village that we call Into Action. We talk about recidivism rates here in Missouri, where just in Boone County alone, we're right at about 26% as far as recidivism rates go when we're, reentry back, going back into prison, whereas Into Action sitting right around 6%. That's amazing numbers. So with Into Action, I'm the activities coordinator. I get to do all the fun stuff. So we know the magic kind of happens in the social model of recovery, being able to get healthy hobbies. And, I do the camping trips, float trips, baseball games, softball games, everything that's kind of that social model, that experiential part of recovery, and being able to show that there's fun without drugs.
So now you train dogs.
I do. So I got out of prison. I started just going to dog parks. I would take Job to the dog parks, and I would be that guy at the dog park that would, I would be that guy. I seen what people were doing, and I wanted to intervene on the conversation. And I'm pretty sure people were like, "Oh God, here comes that guy! Don't do that." And I would just walk up to people and start talking to them, and give them my advice if they wanted it or not. And like I said, Boone County, we have super great dog parks here, and I just basically went everywhere, and I just started training dogs for free basically at the dog park. And one person told another person, and I got my first client, and then one person called another person, and it just kind of blossomed into what it is today.
What was that like when somebody said, "Hey, we want to hire you to do this"?
Man, it was. I didn't know. I didn't know that was even. I didn't even know that was a possibility. I didn't. I had no idea. And now I have this great community of just. We got the Work Together in Columbia website, and when I see it and people ask for dog trainer recommendations, and Backyard Canine is winning hands down, and that's the work of God, man. That's the work of I don't know what's going on, but everybody out there that puts a referral on Backyard Canine, man, it blows me away every single time you put Trey Dawson on there, because I never thought I would see my name other than just on a court docket. So
and it's your name, and it doesn't have a DOC number behind it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and your business has expanded beyond Columbia, right?
It has. So, and what's cool about that is Danny Ramsey, who kind of takes care of the Lake of the Ozarks, and then Mike Montagna, who was a trainer here in Columbia for me, are all former lead dog trainers with the Department of Corrections. So all of them, one was from Moberly, the other one, Danny, he took my job when I left Algoa. So, both of the trainers are former puppies for parole.
So I think it's just remarkable what you're doing. I believe in 2nd and 7th and 8th circumstances.
Right.
But because, and I believe in that because, I mean, look at what you're doing now and how you're helping people now, not just with your dog training business, but I know you do a bunch of stuff with this into action and sharing your story. You know, we share, like you said, you share openly with people when you go and train their dogs. Do you know where I learned how to train dogs? Right. I was in prison. You tell that story, and I think it gives that kind of stuff power because there's been a lot of things, and I don't want to make this about me, but one of my favorite stories, Dr. Alexander Cartwright, former chancellor at Mizzou, when I started opening up about my drug and alcoholism and how I got sober, but one of the other things I would never tell anybody, I wasn't a high school dropout. I just didn't go back.
Right.
Didn't go back to school. And I could share a lot of things, but wouldn't share that. Dr. Alexander Cartwright, former chancellor at Mizzou, talked about being a high school dropout. That guy in that position shared that, and that was powerful. It made it okay for me to share it, and it makes it okay for other people. And it's like that doesn't, dropping out of high school, you being in prison, that doesn't define who Trey is, what you are doing here and now today, not just with your dog training business, but helping these other human beings because you have the experience. It is not about somebody who went and studied psychology and then they're trying to tell. You know what that you're talking about, and that is a powerful thing.
It
Trey.
is. That's what we call that relatable experience.
Yeah.
And I think that's where, we say a lot here at Into Action, a lot of the magic happens when the staff go home and the guys are just able to sit there and just, watch a football game or do stuff like that. It's just being able to share that experience with someone else that has had that experience.
Okay. Every Friday, 8:35. Every Feel Good Friday here on Wake Up Columbia on 93.9 The Eagle. We do winners and losers of the week. Steve texts Trey, winner of the week. Quick phone call, and we got to wrap things up because you've got to get on to other things. Tiffany, welcome into the show. What can we do for you on a Feel Good Friday?
Hey, I wanted to tell Trey how awesome that story was. And it's crazy because my sister died June 24th of last year of an overdose. Fentanyl. And one thing that might have saved her life was going to prison. And I don't know if they just didn't catch her or what, but there's so many other options out there that can save somebody's life, and his life is saved now.
And now he's using his experience to save other people's lives. Tiffany, thank you for taking time out of your day to call and share that story. Trey, somebody wants to, we got to chat again, man, because we're running out of time. If somebody wants to get hooked up with your dog training business, how can they do that?
So you can get on Facebook like Backyard K9. It's Backyard K and a 9, all one word. Tomorrow, I'll actually be at Rockbridge State Park. We are having a trail run out there for Into Action. If anybody wants to show up, I believe it starts at 6:30. It's going to be on the upper parking lot at Rockbridge State Park. You can do same-day sign-ups. It's a trail run for Into Action just to kind of come out and see what Into Action is doing. Also, I wanted to give a big shout-out to my team at Burrell. I'm on the ACT-A team there where I get to help with transitional youth. Big shout-out to my team there, just overcoming a year with COVID and everything like that and still being able to provide them services to our clients.
Your story makes me smile, man.
You make me smile.
Thanks for coming in, man. Trey Dawson, what a great story. Feel
You're listening to Wake Up Columbia with Branden Rathert on 93.9 The Eagle.
Independents and those who are apolitical and those on the right will say, yeah, no, we get it, and we have more important things to be concerned about right now.
John Solomon on Fox last night following the primetime hearing that had featured Taylor Swift opening up with the national anthem. There was a halftime show. There was a wardrobe malfunction and everything in this produced for TV event. That committee hearing was put together by a former ABC News television executive. That tells you right there what that was about. And listen, if you're reading news headlines and things like that, people are going to tell you, well, there's a bunch of new stuff. There's nothing inherently new. What's new? Angles of footage and this footage.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's quoting Bill Barr this morning that he said, Trump's claims are BS. But he went on a book tour like 2 months ago where he said the same thing in how many interviews and in his book.
Yep. It's just simply nothing new. Trey Dawson, I don't even know how to follow that up. Trey Dawson is a guy who had numerous trips to prison, county jails, drug and alcohol. And then Inside Columbia Magazine recently did an article on him talking about what he is doing now. And it's not just with his business. He's training people. And I loved his reaction when somebody offered to pay him because he learned how to train dogs while he was in prison. And then he'd hang out at the Columbia dog parks and people would get the guy, hey, you kind of know what you're doing, and somebody offered to pay him, and he was kind of like, you mean I can get paid to do this? But even bigger than that is he spends his time helping people of various organizations, at a church, into action. Dan and the crew there, I've had numerous opportunities over the years to talk to this guy. They do great work, and I just simply don't know how to follow that up here in the closing minutes. What else do you say following a story like that? And I think is what we'll do coming up maybe at 8:10. Maybe we'll open up the 93.9 The Eagle listener mailbag and see what people are saying, because it's stuff like that. I mean, those are kinds of things when we share, that stuff's it's not always pretty when you're talking about digging needles out of a trash can so you could do drugs, when you're talking about how you felt when you say your last conversation with your mom, you told her to F off, and then she died after that, never saw her again. Those things aren't always pretty conversations. And I don't know, like on a feel-good Friday,
It is, though. It's the grit. There's a level of respect that comes from, being at your lowest and getting somewhere. There's not as much respect being born on third base and being handed a business and, those kinds of things. And so being there and doing it yourself and the determination it took to get where he is today, and then he really does have that appreciation and wants to give back. I'm feeling good about his story.
And then helping other people that are in the same situation that he used to be in. That's beautiful.
We keep paying more and more and more. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. The new report's just out on inflation.
Everything in this report is up.
Consumer prices surged 1% in May over April. Year over year, an 8.6% jump, the biggest such increase in more than 40 years.
This is what people are paying just to eat at home and feed their families, okay? Year over year, we've seen a jump of 10.1% year over year for food at home, and then food away from home, that's restaurant prices, 11.9%.
That's Fox Business Network Cheryl Casoni. Gas at record highs every day for 2 weeks, and AAA's national average for regular now over $4.98 per gallon. It was made for TV. The Democrat-led committee investigating the Capitol riot showed new footage at a primetime hearing,
as well as depositions from members of former President Trump's inner circle. Lawmakers played video testimony from Trump's daughter and White House advisor Ivanka Trump, as well as former Attorney General Bill Barr. Both told the committee they accepted the 2020 election results, but committee chairman Benny Thompson claims lawmakers can now prove the former president was at the center of a plot to cling to power.
As Fox's Brooks Singman. Now, there are two Republicans who are on that committee, including Liz Cheney.
To my Republican colleagues who are defending the indefensible.
But most other GOP lawmakers think the committee's illegitimate. Congresswoman Elise Stefanik just told Fox Business.
This is a partisan political witch hunt. It truly is a political circus. Look no further than the fact that they ran it during prime time hours.
The school police chief in Uvalde, Texas, is finally detailing the response to last month's school massacre. Pete Arredondo tells the Texas Tribune that he did not think he was the commander on scene at the time, and he did go into the school, and they tried dozens of keys to get into that classroom to confront the shooter, but it took a long time before they found one to get it open. America's listening to Fox News.
Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, and Elizabeth Warren, they're all attacking America's tech innovators. The left's bill, S-2992, would take away the digital tools small businesses rely on, empower China to beat America in the race for new technologies, and increase the risk of cyber attacks. When liberals attack America's tech innovators, they're really attacking everyday Americans and Main Street businesses. American jobs, America's security, and the online privacy of the American people are all on the line. Why would Senate conservatives support this liberal agenda that threatens American innovation? We need to stop Pelosi, Schumer, Warren, and the rest of the D.C. liberals from taking away our technology and making China stronger at America's expense. Call the U.S. Senate today at 202-224-3121. Tell Senate Republicans to oppose S-2992. ProtectingTaxpayers.org, paid for and authorized by Taxpayers Protection Alliance.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. It is 8:03 and Robinson saves you time. 65 is our current temperature right now. In Columbia, we are expecting a high today of around 78. Scattered showers and storms today. And we'll have some dry time as well. Cloudy skies tonight with a low near 62. And tomorrow is Saturday, sunshine and a high of 84 degrees. Good morning, and here's some of the stories that we are working on for you on this Friday morning. Tomorrow is your opportunity to receive a free COVID vaccination at a comfort clinic in Columbia.
We'll host tomorrow's clinic from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the department's offices on West Worley. The shots are free and do not require ID or health insurance. Anyone ages 5 or older can participate. Don Luzader, Zimmer News Network.
All right, Don, thank you. Meantime, the Columbia-Boone County Health Department is reporting that we have had 84 new COVID cases in the past 24 hours here in Columbia-Boone County. A lot of those have been children under the age of 5, according to the Health Department website. State transportation officials say feedback about the proposed 63 and Grindstone Parkway interchange in Columbia is overwhelmingly positive. About 80 people attended Thursday's open house at New Haven Elementary School to see a dozen detailed maps on the project. MoDOT project manager Zach Osmond says the proposed loop ramp will improve the traffic flow.
If you're coming from the east, in the future, you're going to be able to make a right turn, take this loop ramp that'll take you underneath the overpass, And if you're coming from the other direction, you'll still get to use the existing ramp.
And Osmond says MoDOT has the money for the $9 million project. Construction expected to start in early 2024. An arraignment is scheduled here in about 2.5 hours in Huntsville for a Moberly woman who is charged with her death of her mother's terrier mix dog. The suspect is identified as 29-year-old Brianna Lingo. Now, she's charged with 2 felonies, animal abuse and also stealing, because it was her mother's dog. Court documents indicate Lingo killed the dog as a sacrifice, but it did not elaborate on that. The Moberly Police Department's probable cause statement quotes Lingo as telling detectives she strangled her mother's dog, then burned its body in a fire pit. Lingo will be arraigned this morning, 10:30, before Judge Cooksey. This suspect is also facing a previous domestic assault felony charge from earlier in the year. Prosecutors have filed a motion to revoke her bond. Judge Cooksey will take both of those up today at 10:30 this morning. Funeral service is set for tomorrow. Columbia, the popular Rockbridge High School homeschool communicator killed at a Tennessee rest stop. Michael Woods' funeral starts at 1:30, crossing Church Grindstone, the direction Parker Millard. Former colleagues and students praising Woods' legacy on the funeral home website. And Missouri Farm Bureau says a bipartisan eminent domain bill that will be signed into law by Governor Parson tomorrow prevents private for-profit companies from taking private land for private gain. Governor signs the bill tomorrow. Cattlemen's Steak Fry Dinner Sedalia before hundreds of farmers across the state. That'll be tomorrow afternoon in Sedalia. Senator Jason Bean of Peach Orchard will be there. A lot of the commodity groups will be there as well. Farm Bureau, Pork Association, Cattlemen's Association as well. Our news is brought to you this hour by the Callaway Bank. Callaway Bank, they're with you for the moments that matter. 93.9 The Eagle News Time is 8:06. In sports, the Rays beat the Cardinals Thursday, Tropicana Field by a score of 2-1, sweeping the 3-game series. St. Louis only had 2 hits. Miles Michaelis takes the loss. He gave up just 3 hits. One of them, though, a home run. Not a bad pitch either. Choi hits it out of the park, though. That was the key to the game. Cardinals back home tonight. They host the Reds at almost said Riverfront Stadium, Busch Stadium. First pitch is at 7:15. 93.9 The Eagle. This is not the Big Red Machine by any means. Boy, the Reds just are really struggling. No Johnny Bench, no Concepcion, no Sparky in the dugout by any means. Royals beat the Orioles last night, 7-5. Santana Melendez homering for the Royals. They are now 19-37. Game 2 of their series tonight is at 7:10 at Kauffman Stadium. If you're going to either game, either at the K or at Busch, have the umbrella handy. I'm not seeing anything severe in terms of weather, but on and off rain, some thunderstorms. Nothing severe, but we may have some delays in both of those games tonight. Sports brought to you by Anderson Windows, Central Missouri. Our news time, 8:07. All right, John, thank you. Right now, we do have partly cloudy skies in Columbia, 65. Traffic check, midmohires.com. Local companies are looking for local people. Midmohires.com to find a job, post your job opening today. 2 quick reminders. Number 1, Soapbox Derby basically is going on in downtown Columbia Sunday, so roads will be affected in the Broadway area on Sunday from 5 in the morning to 6 p.m. Also, our days continue to get longer. 5:43 our sunrise this morning. It will set at 8:34 this evening. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle.
Forget
just leave me alone.
Tell them it's going to be a rock and roll weekend. I don't want to think. I just want to bang on the drum all day. I'm going to bang now.
I think there's some context to Stephanie there and saying, just leave me alone. What was the context to that?
We were talking about pet peeves, and I don't like when people ask me the same question twice. I'm not going to change my mind. So if I told you I didn't want to do X, I still don't want to do X.
And still just as passionate now as you were about it 2 days ago.
It's my biggest pet peeve. Quit asking me the same question. In legal terms, it's called asked and answered.
Welcome into a feel-good Friday edition of Wake Up Columbia. What are you grateful for today, Steph?
I'm grateful that my family's coming to town because it is my dad's 75th birthday. It was yesterday. And so we're doing some golf and some other stuff. He goes by Pops, so happy birthday, Pops. We're excited to celebrate with you this weekend.
I'm grateful. Sean Hannity is going to be on. Of course, he's here each weekday, 2 o'clock on 93.9 The Eagle. And I'm anxious to get his takes because watching some of Fox's reaction and all the other networks' reaction to the hearings yesterday was kind of interesting. And I think that Hannity nails it, especially when it comes to what people are saying. Think about this. And there's nothing new. There was nothing. Camera footage, angles, that was some new stuff. Ultimately, Bill Barr said this. Well, guess what?
He already said that.
He already said that. And I think here's what's telling is, number one, the production value to it and the people that are still peeing their pants this morning about it. There was just really nothing new. And I think John Solomon, one of the folks who summed it up best.
He's living rent-free in the Democrats' head 15 months after leaving office. They are so obsessed with Donald Trump, they are missing their opportunity to try to save the election because they're not talking about all the issues that were just laid out in the segment before us, right? Baby formula, gas prices, inflation, the border, crime. They're going to lose this election because they're letting Donald Trump still live in their head.
Still letting Trump live in their head rent-free to the point these people get angry and they whine and they cry when you disagree with them. And they are doing it, and they are doing it locally. There's really just nothing new. There's a lot of dramatic footage. The footage angles are new, but there's really nothing new to add to it. There's our news director, Brian Hauswirth. What are you grateful for today, Brian? What's got you smiling?
I am grateful for the Amanda. Her name is Amanda over at MU Healthcare and took care of me this week. Stephanie and I talked about it. The allergies this week were horrible and really took care of me. Horrible. To the point where I literally felt I was going to pass out at one point. It was that bad. Took care of me, and I really appreciate that. We got wonderful health care.
Hannah, the producer, is here. What's got you smiling today?
I am smiling because we're going to have some sunshine this weekend.
Amen.
And after a long week of rain and thunderstorms, I am looking forward to it.
Yesterday was incredibly gorgeous. Today, thunderstorm, 78, some sunshine. Tomorrow, high of 84 degrees. Coming up, if you have nominees for winners and losers of the week, please get those to us, 874-9390, 874-9390, especially the local stuff. And not nominees, we pick winners and losers now, because we used to, when we would pick winners and losers, some folks would get upset. Well, you're picking winners and you pick somebody I don't like. Okay, we'll nominate winners and losers. And so we nominate and people still get upset. Well, now you're just nominating. No, you're not. So we do what we want to do here. But here's how you can be a part of it. You can send those who it is that you want to be a winner or a loser to 874-9390, 874-9390. And then we'll cover those. And if you have local stuff, those are the kinds of things that we really like. We have gotten some local nominations.
Letters. I get letters.
All right, let's open up the mailbag.
So many letters.
We don't get any letter.
A whole bunch of letters. I'd even read mail from a cow.
But we do get a lot of texts, Facebook messages. 874-9390, 874-9390. By the way, last night, Brian Hauswirth was at this kind of an open house, not necessarily a public hearing, but an open house for some of the changes coming to 63 in Grindstone. And here's who I would pick as a winner. Brian's at approaching, not quite, but almost 100 people showing up. And I think that's important because, you know, and I'll go back to the city council meeting earlier this week. Usually it's pretty well attended, and if you can't attend the Columbia City Council meetings, you can watch on video. And the city of Columbia does a great job of getting that stuff up immediately. But I think it shows people are interested in what's going on. They're taking part, and they're like, "Hey, I have some strong thoughts on that 63 Grindstone intersection." I think to sum it up best, what Hannah says about the 63 Grindstone intersection, it sucks, is what she says.
It's not great.
Yeah. So in the mailbag today, a lot of reaction to a guy we had on our show earlier this morning. His name is Trey Dawson. This guy had been in and out of prisons for the better part of his life, been drinking and drugging. I think he said started at 7 years old. Today, he spends his life helping other people, especially folks that come out of prison. He's trying to show them, hey, here's a different way, and has a very successful business, and he trains other people's dogs. And he doesn't train just the dogs.
He trains the people.
He trains the people.
I hope he didn't hear my comments about, I hope he doesn't know my history with dogs. But this sounds like a really cool story. So I think the program at the Missouri Department of Corrections, you can actually adopt dogs that have been trained by the folks, and they can help train you to make sure that you're properly communicating with the dog. And then also, if you have a dog at home, it sounds like he can go to a dog park and help train you and your dog to be better behaved. And you know what? I am in favor of better behaved dogs, so we can agree there.
Jack via text reacting to Trey's story. Thanks for sharing his story. Everyone has to find their rock bottom and the reason they don't want to revisit it, and a method to stay above it. And I think one of the things Stephanie says, as a matter of fact, Roger reacted to this via text. Stephanie, and I'm with Roger on this. You see Roger's text?
Yeah.
So Stephanie said, we were just talking about the power of this guy, and here's what's even more powerful is that he shares his experience with other folks, saying, hey man, I've been in prison X number of times, in jails and all this stuff, and I got out of it. Now I hit my rock bottom and decided I didn't want to do that anymore. And Stephanie made a comparison to, it's not like he was born on third base and I'd never heard that either.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. You know, I've got, and nothing against these folks. I've got friends who, you know, mom and dad have a lot of money, or mom and dad had a business, or, you know, whatever. Mom and dad were in the same profession. And, you know, it was kind of always assumed like, oh, you know, here, we're going to hand this off to you, or we're going to, you're going to be in the same industry because that's how you grew up. And so, and, you know, I would say I don't necessarily fall into that category, but I definitely have some advantages that other folks don't have. So I think when you see somebody who really, you know, had to do it all themselves, and especially, you know, I think about Demetrius Woods, and his story seems very similar. Someone who was in a really bad space and not only got out of that bad space, but did something that other people, I mean, most people don't open a small business. That's a huge risk. And for someone like me who had a lot of advantages, it took, you know, having my own business, it was scary. It was a big risk, and it still, you know, it was a hard thing to do. So to see someone who's had, and I think that's probably why they're so successful, because they've had to persevere, because they do have that relatable story. And it's, you know, it was hard work to get it. He had to apply to get into the puppies program in the Missouri Department of Corrections, and then do that successfully. And I think it was that hard work that he put in there that's probably, you know, allowing his business to be successful and to grow and expand now. It's just really impressive. And yeah, it's a little bit more emotional than we get on a Feel Good Friday, but it is a feel good story. And I the other thing that he said that I'm not sure everyone caught was how open the people in Columbia are to his story. And I was really, my heart was warmed by that. And I think there are a lot of communities you can walk into and they can be closed off to people of different backgrounds. And I think that speaks, and I've experienced that in Columbia. I do think Columbia, for the most part, people are open-minded, and that was a really good thing to hear from him.
Because a couple of years ago, we had to get rid of the box thing where it would ask on job applications, you ever been in prison? And we'll hear a lot, especially from the mothership, for example, Fox News, so-and-so has been in prison. It's a different story, maybe not comparable, but we do hear a lot of the stories. Somebody gets out of prison and reoffends. Brian Hauswirth, I think, and Brian Hauswirth used to be a spokesperson for the Department of Corrections. 97%, 93% of people do eventually get out of prison. The people that reoffend, oftentimes, that's the part that gets hyped, that gets talked about. And that's why we like to highlight stories of Demetrius Woods, whom Cherie Tolson Reich and other folks worked for years to get him out of prison because it was basically a 3 strikes and you're out kind of thing. And Demetrius Woods, what he does today in Colombia, not only is he started a little business and he's growing, but more importantly, he's sharing his story with folks that, might be in trouble, might be doing this. And he shares that story and says, listen, I did it. I was a drug kingpin in Colombia, man, and look at what I am doing now. And I wish we could hear more of those stories like Trey was willing to share. Man, he'd been in prison, been in 5 different state penitentiaries, numerous county jails, all that stuff. And it's a success story. Too easily we hear about, they went into prison, we let them out, and guess what happened? They went back into the same thing. But then it's making those resources available to where maybe they don't re-offend.
Well, and I don't think you have to go to prison to relate to their story, too, because I think, he talked about some words he said to his mom that he regrets. And, I think all of us, have had bad days and made decisions that we had hoped that we didn't make, right? And so no one wants to be remembered as their worst decision or as their worst day. And so having that kind of second chance, even if your story isn't, I didn't go to prison, but, there are words that haunt us all that we wish didn't come out of our mouths. And knowing that you can move past that and help others by sharing your story, I think is something we can all relate to.
Talk about rock bottoms, different rock bottoms for whatever it is for you. For this guy, it was numerous visits to prison. For somebody else, it could be whether it's something that has to do, I don't know, with weight issues or with how you deal with people or with work or your organizational skills, and you go, you know what? I'm tired of doing this. I keep getting the same results. Maybe I could do something different. So, yeah, it doesn't have to be just somebody that's gone to prison.
Well, and the other thing I think that was really important about his story was all of the various, we talk about the private sector and our nonprofits really helping out the community better than the government can. And while, the DOC Puppies program was important, he really gave a shout out to some of our local Columbia organizations, from the Crossing coming in to do that program in the prison, to Call to Action, to these types of other, did I get that right?
Yeah.
Okay. And so, coming into action, sorry.
Fact checking myself here.
Into Action, which is a new organization that I got up on their website, and really interesting services provided right here in Columbia. And so I think having that kind of network of available resources here really, and him giving them a shout out and how they affected his life is another testament to our community.
Sheila says, my heart needed to hear Trey's story this morning. My son did not win the battle against drugs, but I am grateful when others succeed, and he is saving lives. Thank you, Trey. Coming up, we're going to be doing the Morning Bell business news with that little twist that only Stephanie Bell can give you. What do you have for us today?
I hate to do this to you on a Feel Good Friday, but the inflation numbers are out.
All right, we'll do that. Coming up about 5 minutes from now on 93.9 The Eagle. Good morning. Gap's Automotive Repair Shop right now. You might check on an air conditioning service. Most of the times we find out our air conditioner isn't working in the car whenever it's hot, and maybe we're headed to a wedding and you got makeup on and everything, and you're trying to look nice, and you get in the car and it's 97 degrees outside and you start sweating and it's whole. Go to Gap's Automotive Repair Shop, and not just for air conditioning service, but that's the one that I'm thinking of right now as we get close to the official start of summer. Check your air conditioning, because it's one of those things you don't want to find out when it's too late that, hey, it's not working properly. Go to Gap's Automotive Repair Shop, have them do an AC service, and maybe it's fine. Gap's Automotive Repair Shop will tell you it's fine. You're good. You got nothing to worry about. Gap's Automotive Repair Shop. I've been knowing them for several years now. They work on my vehicle, which is almost as old as Hannah, and they keep it on the road and they keep it running smooth. I think you'd like your relationship with Gap's Automotive Repair Shop in Columbia and in Boonville.
Political opinion? We got your back. Wake Up Columbia, 93.9 The Eagle.
$8:28 time for the Morning Bell business news with that little twist that only Stephanie Bell can give you. Good luck today, kiddo.
Yeah, I'm sorry to do this to you on a Feel Good Friday, but it's going to make you feel good about our chances in the midterms because inflation has hit a new, fresh 40-year high with 8.6%. So that's even above what they had projected. And I think the increase had dipped just a little bit last month. And so I think, they were hopeful for maybe holding steady with last month, but no, higher than ever.
So some hope, for example, with gas prices. There's a lot of cool things happening in town this weekend. You don't have to travel far. Budweiser's Clydesdales, they're doing a big thing at Warm Springs Ranch this weekend, trying to set a world record with the world's longest boat parade at Lake of the Ozarks this weekend. So there's some cool things you can do where you don't have to. I'm stretching pretty far, aren't I? That's what we have for you. Coming up, winners and losers of the week. We are picking winners and losers. If you have somebody that you would like to pick as a winner or a loser, the more localer, the better. 874-9390. You can text us.
Fox News, I'm Chris Foster. More inflation, consumer prices up 8.6% over last year, according to the Labor Department.
That is the highest since December of 1981. Month-over-month gains were also larger than expected at 1%. This follows last month's inflation rate of 8.3% year over year.
Fox's Carly Shimkus. The committee investigating the Capitol riot plays new video, and here's testimony about the violence that day last January.
Committee Vice Chair, Republican Liz Cheney, says former President Trump oversaw a 7-part plan to overturn the 2020 election.
President Trump engaged in a massive effort to spread false and fraudulent information.
The committee says it will make that case with new evidence over the course of several more hearings planned over the next few weeks.
Fox's Jared Halpern, former President Trump on social media, calls the committee political hacks. America's listening to Fox News.
And now award-winning local news coverage with Brian Hauswirth on 93.9 The Eagle.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. It is 8:31 and Robinson saves you time. 66 right now in Columbia, 65 degrees in Jefferson City. On our way to a high today of 78 degrees. Rain in the forecast. We'll have some dry time as well. Good morning. I'm Brian Hauswirth. In this 8 o'clock hour, bipartisan eminent domain legislation that's the top priority for the Columbia-based Missouri Cattlemen and Pork Associations will be signed into law tomorrow afternoon by Governor Parson.
The governor will sign the bill during the 19th annual Cattlemen Steak Fry tomorrow in Sedalia. Bill sponsor State Senator Jason Bean will join the governor at the event, along with commodity group leaders. Bean says the bill ensures that eminent domain can only be used for necessary public services that truly serve the common good. The bill specifically exempts the controversial Grain Belt project in North Missouri and only impacts future projects. Don Luzader, 93.9 The Eagle.
All right, Don, thank you. That bill was a priority for a number of state representatives and lawmakers around the state. Senator Jason Bean, Peach Orchard, State Representative Mike Hafner, who is from Pleasant Hill, and a lawmaker from our area as well, worked on this as well. State Representative Chuck Basie, Rocheport. About 75 to 80 people turned out for Thursday's open house. They saw detailed maps of the proposed $9 million project to upgrade 63 and Grindstone Interchange here in Columbia. According to MoDOT's project manager, Zach Osmond, feedback overwhelmingly positive. A Moberly woman charged with the gruesome killing of her mother's dog will be arraigned this morning, 10:30 in Huntsville. She is Brianna Lingo, and the funeral is tomorrow. Michael Woods, who was killed at a Tennessee rest stop. News brought to you by Hemi Construction at 8:33. In sports, Tampa Bay beat the Cardinals yesterday at Tropicana Field, the Trop as they like to call it, in St. Pete Beach. And St. Pete, 2-1 final there, sweeping the 3-game series over the Cardinals. The good news here, even though the Cardinals were swept, they didn't lose any ground. The bad news is they had a chance to they could have potentially had a 3.5-game lead over the Brewers had they won some of these games, and they just could not get it done. Brewers have lost 6 straight, so the Cardinals still only a half game back in the National League Central. Only only 2 hits last night. Miles Michaelis, outstanding on the mound. 3 hits he gives up. 1 a home run from Choi. Not a bad pitch at all, but Choi takes it out of the park. Cardinals back home tonight, hosting the Reds at Busch Stadium. First pitch right here on 93.9 The Eagle at 7:15. Royals over the Orioles last night, 7-5. Royals are 19-37. They had a couple of home runs last night. Santana Melendez with those. Game 2 of the series is tonight, 7:10 Kauffman Stadium. Sports brought to you by Betts Jewelers, downtown Columbia. 93.9 The Eagle news time is 8:34. Traffic check with MidmoHires.com. Local companies are looking for local people. MidmoHires.com to find a job or to post your job opening today. Our roads are pretty quiet here in mid-Missouri. If you'd like to report a traffic issue, 573-874-9390. More team coverage in less than 30 minutes. Breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, the 93.9 The Eagle.
The radio station 93.9 The Eagle. The show Wake Up Columbia with Branden Rathert, Stephanie Bell, Brian Hauswirth, and Hannah the producer, giving you news, analysis, and opinion.
Ever seen a Tom Cruise film like he couldn't figure out the plot in about 18 seconds? Oh, Christ. He's a cocktail maker. He's a pretty good cocktail maker, too. Till he has a crisis of confidence and can't make cocktails anymore. And he meets a good-looking woman who talks him into being a better cocktail maker. A riveting piece of cinema that was. Then he's a race car driver. Pretty good race car driver, too. So he has a crisis of confidence. Can't race cars anymore. Then he meets a good-looking woman who talks him into being a better race car driver. Then he's a jet pilot. Some of you are starting to see a pattern emerge here. Pretty good jet pilot? Yes, he was. Well, he had a crisis of confidence, couldn't fly jets anymore. Then I believe he met a good-looking woman who talked him into being a better jet pilot. Then he was some kind of...
That is comedian Rich Hall. By the way, one of the things I am feeling good about today, my dad goes to the movies less than I do. And I don't go to the movies not because I'm a cranky old dude. It's because I can't hear bassy sounds and I get into a movie theater and everything sounds like this back out here. And then whoever it is that's with me, I spend the whole time like this going, hey, what did they say? Huh?
That's so annoying.
Exactly. And so that's why I don't go anymore. But I'm taking my dad, and I've seen the movie twice. I think it has been, how long ago? 1997. It's been 25 years since I've gone to a movie theater twice to see the same movie. I'm taking my dad today to see the movie Tom Cruise's Top Gun. We are getting ready for winners and losers of the week here shortly on Wake Up Columbia. Feel Good Friday edition. Do appreciate you being here. Something we can do for you. 874-9390. 874-9390. If there's somebody, especially local. That's what we like, the local stuff. Sure, we'll cover national things and stuff like that, but local winners and losers. And before we do that, briefly, I thought this MoDOT a hearing, town hall, open house, probably more accurate.
That's right.
Like some 80 people there. That's a lot of people. And this is regarding changes coming to the 63 grindstone. One big takeaway for you, Brian.
Biggest takeaway, Branden and Stephanie and Hannah, would be this, and that is the fact that the feedback was overwhelmingly positive. I heard it myself. Good. People really like them. There were little concerns about the bike paths, but from a couple of people, and I'm not sure exactly. I think they're wondering how that'll work. But people are very excited. The only complaint, they'd like to see it done sooner. So that was a big deal. It was a wonderful turnout. That's a lot of people on a weeknight.
And now for nominees for the winners and losers of the week on 93.9 The Eagle.
Winners and losers of the week. Yes, we pick winners and we pick the losers, and you get to pick them too. 874-9390. I want to start here. Brian Hauswirth is up. So you remember a couple weeks ago, he took home a roll cart full of awards at the company-wide award show for the Zimmer Radio Group. This week, it's a little different. Missouri State Broadcasters Association, which is radio stations from all across the state of Missouri, St. Louis, Kansas City, Springfield, Cape Girardeau, every single city in Missouri, every single radio station, and Brian is nominated for, I think it's breaking news coverage is one of the categories. What is it that you're nominated for there exactly?
Breaking news category, Branden, and in the coverage specifically of the Lindley Rennick murder trial here in Columbia and the verdict specifically. I was in the courtroom, and it was just a chaotic scene, to say the least.
Have you been to a Missouri State Broadcasters Awards show before? This is, let me give you an idea. Yeah. This is like almost like the Oscars, except the MC probably ain't going to get smacked. I mean, it's a high quality thing.
It really is.
And it kind of goes back and forth. They do it Lake of the Ozarks or in Branson. And where are they doing it this
Lake
year?
of the Ozarks.
Lake of the
Thank
Ozarks.
Goodness, because it's a little closer.
Yeah. I would hate for you to have to get a U-Haul to bring all your hardware home and drive it all the way from Branson. But it really is just a superb show. It's not just like you go up and you get your little certificate and smile like you're in the second grade. Look at me, I got perfect attendance this month. It's a big deal. And when you look at all the radio stations all across Missouri, and our news director, Brian Hauswirth, nominated, man, I am
Thank you, my friend.
For you.
I've got a 50-50 chance. Either way, I'll come out with an award, but I'm
Look at that. And the other thing about Brian, he's very humble, too.
Well, it'll be first or second place. But no, it's a real honor, and you're right. It's a wonderful, wonderful event.
I want to find out who you've got for winners and losers of the week. I also, and I don't know if a whole lot of folks will recognize this name. He spent a lot of years on our country station, Clear 99. His name is Josh Ryan. He's more behind the scenes now. He does, and I hope I'm not going too far behind the scenes. If so, don't tell anybody that Branden Rathert from 93.9 The Eagle told you this, but he does a lot of commercials and things, and the guy is incredibly creative. I think it was the Mercury Radio Awards in New York City, which is a national thing. Josh Ryan, let me tell you about the power of local radio, and specifically the Zimmer Radio Group, because there's no other radio group in town that sent people to New York that were nominated for any of these awards. It was just the Zimmer Radio Group, and Josh Ryan, I don't know if anybody knows the name. He's an Ashland kid, just like Stephanie is. He's got kids in the school district. His daughter is one heck of a softball player for the high school team.
They just won districts, by the way.
Just won districts?
I think. Was it them?
Yes, absolutely.
And he was nominated for a national award against radio stations from all across America.
That's awesome.
He won last night. He won in New York City. And I think it's important for a couple of reasons, because when people are considering buying radio advertising, well, what are you going to do? You're going to write, hey, stop by so-and-so located at, or call whenever you're in the mood for, think this. That doesn't happen here, okay? We have a guy who's in charge of that stuff. He won a national award last night.
That's right.
New York City. All right, Brian, who you got for winners and losers of the week?
Don't have any losers this week, but I'm going to nominate or pick basically, and I don't want to get choked up or talking about this, but it was just really touched my heart reading this. The students at Rockbridge High School and colleagues that were reflecting, I actually looked at this to write my story, and I didn't realize how emotional it was. But these students, when they were talking about Mr. Woods, who was killed in Tennessee, a lot of them, they don't have like fathers. He was like a father figure, and I know how tight I am with my dad. I don't know. That'd be so difficult. And a lot of them, I mean, I encourage people. Parker Millard Funeral Home. You could read it for yourself to see the impact he had on these young people's lives. It is amazing. It is amazing, and what an impact! What a tribute! People will not stop reading him. So I really tip my hat to those young people and to his colleagues too. He must have just been an incredible person.
Man, when you can make a positive impact on somebody's life, and I'm not talking just in your profession. You know, it's great if you're, a teacher or a doctor, or you're in the clergy, whatever. But I really believe we can make positive impacts on people's lives just by smiling, encouraging, not being cranky all the time. You can really have a positive impact by building.
Absolutely.
Don't tell anybody I said that. It sounds awfully corny, but I do mean that. Steph, you got any folks you'd like to put forward for winners and losers of the week?
You're going to be shocked, but it has to do with dogs. The Ashland Police Department, I guess, wants to get a canine for their unit to help them with their public safety goals. And I don't exactly know what police dogs do, but to do whatever police dogs do. And rather than go out and seek tax dollars, they are collaborating with some community organizations and raising money that would then fund this Ashland, I think's first ever police dog. So I think that's really cool.
That's awesome. Very nice. Hannah, you got any folks you'd like to put forward for winners or losers of the week?
Yadier Molina got a strikeout when he pitched in one of the Cardinals games this week. I thought that was pretty cool.
That was pretty cool.
But I think the loser of the week would be the guy that he struck out. Can you imagine getting struck out by a catcher?
You got struck out by a catcher who's 53 years old? Yadier Molina's not 53 years old. By the way, what's hot with Hannah? One of the things Hannah posted this week, Yadier Molina and Adam Wainwright. What was that?
It was a Budweiser commercial, and it was just kind of highlighting their bromance of, Adam Wainwright and Yadier Molina over the years. And it was just a nice little, bromance, 45-second ad. So it's on the Wake Up Columbia Facebook page if you want to check it out.
Off the text, 874-9390, Marissa says, I am nominating my daughter, Keely, for Winner of the Week. She hit her first over-the-fence home run this week. Dang. How about that?
Cool.
That is cool, and that makes a difference. When I played high school ball, I got a one home run in my career. I was a little spry hitter, and I got a home run. First things my friends asked me when I was bragging, my friends, I got to go to a home run. They said, was it over the fence? No, it was inside the Parker. So congratulations, 874-9390, 874-9390. This is a winner of the week.
When I became chief, I said I would address concern about bias policing. I said I would not police to a number. That stands true today.
It's Columbia Police Chief Jeff Jones, and these traffic reports come out every year. Oh my gosh, why is this group of people getting pulled over more than this group of people? And everybody in law enforcement, whether it's locally or nationally, will give you sound reasons. Well, here's why here's why it happened. So, winner of the week, I appreciate him saying that. He said that at the city council meeting. Anybody else out there that we're not mentioning? Anybody we forgot? Somebody that you would like to toss in? 874-9390. Oh, Columbia Public School District. And the Chamber of Commerce. They've been doing this really cool thing, and I'm serious when I talk about mentioning picking Columbia Public School District for winner of the week. One of the things they were doing, they had one of these things. I don't know if it was just this week, but they worked with the chamber, and they had these teachers do these programs, go into various local employers, because everybody knows, okay, MU Healthcare, Veterans United, Zimmer Radio Group, but some of these other maybe more obscure businesses, and these teachers went to learn about these businesses. So when they go back to school, they say, hey, listen, here's some local businesses. Here's some other things that you could do. Voters in San Francisco, I know it's not local, but the voters in San Francisco outing a very light on crime DA, because this goes back to, and I still honestly believe this is going to be part of a nationwide trend. This woke stuff being soft on crime and all of that. People are like, whoa, we went way over the edge there. And it started in the wokest place in America, and that is San Francisco. The voters of San Francisco ousting Jason Boudin this week. And I think that matters here. And we've seen maybe the tide start to roll a little bit just a couple of months ago with our local elections in that mayoral race. Randy Minshew, out of some, I think, almost 20,000 votes cast, somebody like Randy Minshew, who has more conservative values, came within like a few hundred votes. So those are winners and losers of the week. If we missed something, feel free before we get into the Gary Nolan show here in the next few minutes.
Opinions on social issues. We throw those around too. Wake Up Columbia. 93.9 The Eagle.
Okay, there's a crazy story happening right now in Pennsylvania.
It's really crazy.
There's a rescue underway. 2 people are trapped in a chocolate tank at the Mars M&M factory in Elizabethtown, Pennsylvania.
And as far as we know, those folks were okay. As a matter of fact, I think it's what was hot with Hannah today.
Well, we don't know if they're okay or not. One was transported by ambulance to the hospital, and one was taken by helicopter to the hospital.
Okay.
So
here's why I play that audio from CNN. So there, as most people, and that might be your natural reaction. Sure, people trapped in a vat of chocolate. We don't know how it happened and blah, blah, blah. And they're laughing. And then finally, one of the anchors, it occurs to them, that's a funny story. And they said, not verbatim here, but they basically said, that's pretty funny. Unless
they're not okay.
Unless somebody got hurt.
Well, and I kind of broke my cardinal rule for what's hot with Hannah. I try not to do stories where people end up dying or end up hurt. And I technically didn't know the end of the story, so I probably should have waited, but the Willy Wonka vibes were just too strong.
Somebody asked me one time, and I can't remember what it was. I was doing Top 40 radio at the time. And somebody said, "How come you're not making any jokes about the death of whatever the celebrity it was that died?" And they died. It was a criminal action in which they died. How come you're not joking about that, Branden? That's like, well, I just don't find murder very funny, or people getting hurt. I just don't.
It kind of kills the mood.
You're gonna find this one funny.
Points.
Okay, that was really good. And I can't believe you haven't picked up on this because I did send it to you. And I think it's right up your alley. Apparently, there's a case in Missouri that's making national news that the Court of Appeals handed down on Tuesday. A Jackson County woman says she caught an STD in her car.
First of all, what do you mean that's right up my alley?
I just know you think this would be hilarious.
Yeah.
So she's made a claim on her auto insurance against Geico, basically saying you're liable for my damages because I was getting busy in my car, and that's where I caught my STD. And so she's made a claim for $5.2 million against her auto insurer. And the actual case is really weird and wonky on like a procedural arbitration issue, but I've never heard of someone.
That's an expensive case of chlamydia. Geez.
I don't know what it was. But anyway, but that news story, a Missouri case, is kind of picking up some national steam over the oddities of the factual situation.
Sometimes you can't you can't blame someone for trying, right?
Well, hey, I'll put this lawsuit out there and see if it works. And Missouri is known to be a Sioux-friendly state, right?
Yeah, I think they called us the judicial hellhole. I think we've won that award a couple of times.
Yay, us.
Right?
See, there we go, making national news again. Do want to remind you, coming up a couple of weeks from now, as a matter of fact, I guess this will be 2 weeks from today, we are doing this on a Feel Good Friday. It's our annual 93.9 The Eagle Central Missouri Honor Flight Radiothon with Diamond Pet Foods. Friday, June 24th. And what we do is, well, you do it, really. We're just kind of the conduit here from you to the veterans, and we send them to D.C., and they go for a day and they see their monuments and stuff like that. And it's just it's for a lot of them. And I'm not exaggerating here because we've talked to these veterans over the year that have been on a Central Missouri Honor Flight. I've been fortunate enough to be a guardian on an honor flight. For a lot of them, it can change them, and you can help facilitate that. As a matter of fact, $300 donation this year gets you an official T-shirt thanks to Extreme Body and Paint. We're building a wall of honor. Go to our website, see how you can take part in that wall of honor. I want to thank Midmo Telecom, Living Canvas, and Atterbury Auctions for making that possible. My dad is excited because the Gary Nolan Show is next. Have a great weekend. See ya.
Bye.